YouTube, Brian Phillips here, FMS 1700 millimeter F4U Corsair here, NX6. Really excited to bring this to you. We're flying this on a 6S 50C, what is that, a 5,000 milliamp?
Yep.
We're gonna do a second flight if time allows with 100C. This thing is gorgeous. Before I even think about it, retracts. Look at that gorgeous mechanism. That is just totally gorgeous.
Cool.
And then of course, on the way down, steerable tail wheel. Did you not have that in the field of vision?
Can't even see the whole plane.
You couldn't?
No. Now you can.
Did you see it that
Yep.
time?
Yep.
They are slow though.
Yes, they are.
Okay. So without further ado, we're gonna go to the end of the runway and get this thing in the air.
Okay.
All right, takeoff flaps, landing flaps. We got the takeoff flaps in. Here goes nothing. Oh, gorgeous.
Wow. Holy cow.
A little pitch sensitive there. We need to definitely change our rate on the elevator there. She feels super easy to control here. Not even a click of trim in there on the ailerons. There's your full throttle. Man, yeah, really porpoisey. Man, I think it's disappeared, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised.
All right, I want to see takeoff flaps. Okay, I want to try the landing flaps here. Okay, a little bit of pitch down tendency. Very slow gear. Gorgeous. Out of the flaps, out of the gear. Very porpoisey right now. I have got to do something about that. I know how to fix it right now too. Okay, gear coming down. You need to be on my other side. Okay. Just relaxing into the landing here. It should be pretty straightforward landing. Okay. A little bit too fast. I think we'll be okay. We'll just go around. Really surprised. I figured it'd be like way faster. That's full throttle there, guys. It's got plenty of power. It's just that it's not real fast. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Gear coming out. I will be fixing the porpoise when we get it down. Okay, out of the throttle. Uh-oh.
No gear.
Full throttle. Sorry, guys. I think it's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, full landing flaps here. Yeah, we were just super pinch sensitive on the elevator. We're gonna go and mess with that right now. You wanna pause it?
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go into servo setup. Excuse me, dual rates and Expo. We're gonna go to the elevator and we're gonna immediately change our middle rate from 10 to like 30, okay? And then our more deadened is gonna be like 40, and then we're gonna drop the rates down to 75 if that's not enough, okay? Because it's just way too touchy on the elevator. That's why it's so porpoisey. Really, on an application like that, I need to change the control rod position. I think in the middle rate, I'm actually gonna drop the rates down to like 90, okay? So we'll still ride in the middle. Everything else felt pretty good. The other thing too is, gosh, I felt like there was one other thing. There's my timer. So we'll probably go ahead and fly it on the 100C. Let's go into telemetry. Whoops. we'll just scroll over. So the flight pack's at 25.2 volts right now. You can definitely see, I felt like the stabilizer was working okay. Oh, that's the other thing I want to do is flap system. There's too much down correction, so I want to make that more like probably 20 and just more like 8. Let's actually do 8 and 18, okay? So throttle cut's on. I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take it inside where it's warm, and we'll switch to the 100C pack and come right back. Okay, so we're gonna pop open this spot here. So if it was pitch sensitive, it might have actually been slightly tail heavy too. Do you wanna show them inside of here? See where the battery is? I didn't feel like we were bad on our CG mark points, but maybe we just need to go forward a little bit. It felt relatively stable. It's just, I was surprised at how slow it was. And the thing is, when you get a big plane, okay, so obviously we have an adapter in here. It's much easier to unplug the IC5, so we're gonna leave that unplugged. And then the smart tester. So this was a 50C pack. I can definitely see why they asked for a 45C. That thing just sucks the power like crazy. 74%?
Huh.
That's crazy. I could have gone forever longer.
Well.
74%.
Forever.
I mean, I landed with a minute left on the timer.
Yeah.
I kind of hate to push it, so I'll just go ahead and put the 100C pack in there. So almost exactly the same size. In fact, this one weighs like a gram or two less. But I'm going to ride that pack a little bit further forward this time. I'm not going to lie, guys. I was a little bit underwhelmed with the speed. I wanted to see it go faster. Granted, I didn't really have a chance to really push on it too hard because I was nervous about getting everything back in one piece, okay? So I'm just gonna, I don't feel real comfortable with that. This strap, these straps are the good straps. You can really tug on them hard, and then you can push them down in there, get those things in there good. Okay, so I wanna test the CG again. So instead of being back here, I'm pushed up to where it's mostly up by the front strap, okay? Oh, still got the adapter on there. Won't need 2 of those. Okay, so it's plugged in. You might want to stay away from the prop just in case something goes wrong. Throttle cut is on. I can see it from here. So I didn't feel like the stabilization was giving us any problems at all. There was certainly no oscillation there. We could probably have a little bit higher gain values and still fly okay, but I didn't feel like that was an issue. So that one we can charge at any point. So really now it just becomes a matter of, do we want to reevaluate any of this on the elevator? Okay, so the lowest setting, we have 15 Expo, then 30, then 40. Let's make it linear. Let's go to 45. Okay, gross. 90, and then 100 for the rates. Okay, 90, then 100, or then 75. Okay, so 100, 90, 75, and then 15, 30, 45. So that's what we'll see, and we'll start in the middle. I felt like the rudder was fine. I felt like the ailerons were just fine. And of course the flap deployment rate was good, but I had a little bit too much elevator correction to the downward direction, and everything else felt really nice. So the other thing is this 4-minute timer is way, 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 way too short. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and set that 4 minutes to, we had a landing at 6 and we got to 75% power. So if we wanted to get closer to 50%, then we could have a 6-minute timer. So I'd say 8 minutes is probably totally safe. Okay, she's cringing. Well, I don't understand why you would cringe.
Well,
If 3 brought us to 75, that'd be 25%. You could do a 12-minute timer to get to 0. If I go to 8, you're...
fly to 0.
Okay, I'm gonna go to 8. I think we're totally safe with that. And plus we have a voltage alarm as well we can set up that will alarm when we get to a certain range, okay? Because this is 22.2 volts nominally. I think what we're gonna do though is we'll fly it like it is now. You'll notice I had the drop tanks on that first flight, just for the sake of trying to see if we can zip this thing up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and take those off because they do create a lot of drag. And obviously, if you want it to go faster, you're not going to want to have any more drag than you need to get the job done. Beautiful landing gear. It seemed like it was really relatively easy to land. I was still nervous just because it's so beautiful and it's big. And it felt like it was just creeping along. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and head outside and start this again. Okay, we wanted to taxi a little bit for you too, so take off flaps. This thing clearly does not need pavement. In fact, it's probably easier to fly off of grass strip by a long shot. See how much the elevator is going, just to get it going, or the rudder rather, to get it to go straight. Boy, there's just not much movement on that tail wheel, is there? Look at that, that's crazy. Barely even turns. I wonder if it's just because it's kind of kicked to one side versus the other. Yeah, it's turning a lot sharper this way. See? Really pretty good ground handling if you can turn it the right direction. And I did have a mix on my ailerons and rudder. Let's just taxi off the runway a little bit for the people too. It does just fine.
Yeah.
So I'll taxi back up. Look at that beautiful strip. That looks so gorgeous. Okay, I'm gonna just take off.
Okay.
Oh, gorgeous landing gear. That's 100% throttle there. I just want to see if it'll go. Oh yeah, it'll do loops and everything. Out of the throttle. Boy, it's got a presence up there, doesn't it?
It does.
With the sun.
Yeah.
Rudder's pretty touchy too, actually. I didn't even hardly use the rudder before. Take off flaps here. Yeah, we're still way touchy on that elevator. Gorgeous. It's very quiet. I never would have guessed it would have been quiet. That thing is big.
It is.
Here we go. That was about a 70% roll rate there. There, it's wanting to stall over. Beautiful. You got to use gravity to help you get some speed, I guess. I think I almost could use a little bit more gains on the stabilizer. Good thing it's calm. Full landing flaps here. Got a little bit of nose down tendency. We need to take that 18 down to like probably 15. Out of the flaps. Still way touchy. I'm going to go to my highest setting on Expo, which should help me correct that issue. The 100C pack seems to be helping. The elevator is a lot less porpoisey with a 75% rate tied into a 45 Expo, which is a lot, guys. Like way more than I would ever normally do. Feels a lot better now. Way, way, way better. I think this plane just needs some Expo. It's so much easier to control now. Gorgeous.
It looks really good.
Huh?
It looks really good.
I hope it's picking up all right on the camera because this clear blue sky is killer for filming.
The dark is good. The dark plane is good though.
Okay, good. I'm trying to stay by the tree line. Full landing flaps here. Oh yeah, a lot easier to keep that porpoise effect down. Gorgeous, totally gorgeous. Let's go for a little silhouette look here.
Okay.
You can see the canopy, that's cool. I want to see if I can do let's see if I can do a slow pass this direction. Wind's kind of coming from over my shoulder, gear coming out. Nice dirty pass. Did you see that reflection?
Mm-hmm.
That was weird. Out of the flaps, out of the gear. Almost had a bird strike, jeez. Do you remember when we tested the throttle in our living room and how it felt so incredibly powerful?
Mm-hmm.
It gets the job done, but boy, this is 100% throttle kind of flight right now. Like pretty much the whole flight's been at 100%. Lights look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this plane's just screaming for some control horn adjustments. There's no reason why you couldn't go into the inner holes and get a little bit more resolution out of your control surfaces. Okay, full landing flaps. Let's see if we can do a touch and go maybe here. Okay, we'll pretend it was a touch and go. That thing looks gorgeous going over the horizon. The gear are slow, folks.
Yeah, they are.
They are not for emergency landings. High-speed pass, if you want to call it that. 100%. There's 50%. Takeoff flaps are deployed just so I don't fall out of the sky. Gorgeous propeller. That yellow tip is just amazing looking. Love the way the sun hits and you can see that silhouette of light. Oh, so gorgeous at that turn. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Right at the bottom, the precipice of that turn, I felt like I was losing it. Okay, I'm a minute 40 on my 8. A minute 40 from my 8. Here we go. Try this again. Beautiful. Totally gorgeous. Guys, if you're new to flying and you're thinking, boy, I can't live without that plane, do yourself a favor, get the 1.2 meter. You're going to thank me.
Yep.
Many times over. The 1.2 meter is a very, very different beast. It's cheaper to fly. It's cheaper to energize with batteries. It's really fun still. And the scale speed is higher. Okay, gear coming down. Okay, out of the flaps, out of the gear. Let's switch sides.
Okay.
If you want to just be kind of in the middle of the runway, that'd be great. Thank you. 5 more steps that direction, if you would. Thank you. I'm renegotiating my glasses here. Takeoff flaps coming out. We're going to try going under the power lines here. Okay, we've got the gear coming out. You're doing a great job, camera crew. You just keep doing what you're doing. Full landing flaps there. I want to.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, that was my warning. So as you can probably imagine, that approach is a little bit on the scary side with the lighting conditions.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the flaps are doing. That elevator correction's kicking it down. I want to go up and over. Okay, man, that silhouette's so good. Okay, I'm gonna go over and then down and away from us. You ready?
Yep.
1700 millimeters is a new size class for us, folks. So much better.
Nice.
I was hoping not for a ground loop. But look at this, it handles those big bumps without any problems. Should we do a takeoff from the grass and land from the grass now that the sun's down?
Now that you're at the end of your battery.
I'm not at the end of my battery. I'm gonna do it.
I know you are.
Okay, so takeoff flaps are deployed, holding full up elevator. That was a 1 minute pass, that's 9 minutes. Absolutely no problem. Out of the takeoff flaps, out of the gear. Very gorgeous, very easy to get off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's a more realistic looking flight. I do not like being at 100% the whole time. That makes me nervous. You know why? What saves lives in planes, camera crew? I've trained you well, I know. What is it?
Speed. Power.
Power. Power saves lives. Grass landing this time? Beautiful,
Nice.
beautiful landing. Absolutely no dragginess. to one side or the other, which is exactly what I experienced on the hard. Guys, this is a concrete driveway if you haven't figured that out yet. It is not geotextile like you might have at some of your flight fields. Certainly not asphalt. Concrete is very unforgiving on stuff like this. You gotta have some soft tires to get a nice smooth landing. But boy, that thing is gorgeous. I love the decal on the prop in that middle. So pretty.
Very cool.
Definitely turns way faster to the right than it does to the left. Oh, almost made it. But I would say, guys, this plane is gorgeous. Is it easy to fly? Not near as easy as I thought it would be. But is it hard to fly? Not really. It's a lot less scary to fly than the P-51 that's a 1.5 meter. The E-Flight 1.5 meter. That plane is it'll creep you out because once you get that tail wheel on the ground, it just does what it does. This one seems way more refined once you get it down on the ground. Beautiful looking plane, very good lights, very bright, very easy to see from a distance. It happens to be cold right now. So if you're picking that up in our voice, it is cold. So sometimes the packs will have a little bit of a performance degradation in real cold, but it's not real cold, it's just cold. What would you say? It's probably right around, hovering around freezing, probably 30.
Yeah, I think it's actually a little bit. I think it was like mid-20s today.
Mid-20s?
So,
Okay,
the
so
sun's
yeah,
going down.
mid-20s. I think tomorrow it's supposed to be 40. So I think with a little bit warmer weather, the battery might last a little bit longer, give us a little bit more power. But I mean, we ran that thing for almost 10 minutes, no problem.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll wrap it up by going inside and hooking up the voltage alarm so you can see what type of life expectancy we could have gotten. So I'm gonna just plug in the voltage alarm, or not the voltage alarm, rather the tester, the XBC smart tester. And if I could get my fingers out of the way. Okay, here we go. So we're at 21%. So I feel like that's a reasonable point to be. So if we're at 21%, then, oh shoot, except I plugged it into the wrong pin. So that might explain why it's got a weird 16 volt mark on the first cell. I'm gonna scooch it over one set of pins and we should be good then. There we go. Okay, there you are, 25%. So if we're at 25%, I feel like that's a good safety margin. So you can do a 10-minute flight. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that this thing would fly for 10 minutes.
No.
And 10 minutes is a conservative measure. Like you'd be getting close. I would say 8 minutes to 10 minutes is totally reasonable. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna, well, let's change our Expo settings a little bit now that we're down, because this is what I teach you guys to do. Make your adjustments on the fly. Okay, so we're flying on this setting. So I want my new top setting to be double that, or at least 30, okay? Then this low setting is gonna be half of that, so like 10. And the rates are okay. And then I'll lower that down even more to like 75. The rates on the ailerons are okay. And then I want to go to the rudder. And we were flying at 20 and it felt pretty good. So I would say let's go 90 on the rudder. And let's do the rate at 25. And then we'll do 35. And then we'll do 15. Okay. So the least sensitive, where we expect to fly, and then the most sensitive. Okay. And then we didn't mess with the elevator on this go round, but we're going to go ahead and, we were flying at that and that was pretty good. So I guess I'll go to like 45 and I'll kick this down to 70. And then I'll put this to 65, and then I'll leave this one at 100. So if I get in trouble, I can always go up there and it's just touchy on the landing, you know. But I need this to be more like 35, probably. Yeah, 35. That's way more expo than I would ever normally do on an elevator. Normally, if I'm gonna make that type of an adjustment on an elevator, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back here and I'll show you this. This is one thing you can do. On the elevator, you can bring that, instead of being here, you can go to the inner hole, okay? And then you'll get more precision control, and it's super easy change. So you guys see how there's multiple holes here. So you'd go like, instead of this hole, you go to this one, or maybe that one actually. And then you would set your rates back to 100%. So that means the elevator moves less, but you actually have more strength in the movement. So it still works well. And it could also just be something about the CG maybe not being quite right. Typically, if you're tail heavy, it's going to be way pitch sensitive. And if, well, not necessarily tail heavy, but if you have it nose heavy, then it makes the elevator less effective. So we're obviously not nose heavy. So that all being understood, I'm happy with those changes.
Hey, you said you were going to adjust
The flaps.
the elevator
Yep,
correction.
so the flap correction, I want to go from 18 down to, let's do 14. And then let's do 6. Actually, let's do 6 and 12. I'd rather have just a hair balloon. Okay? And that's okay. So this is where we ended. Minus 100, minus 20, then 90. And then the elevator correction was 0, 6, and then 12. Okay? So throttle cuts on. We're in the middle setting. And what we hope to do right now, actually, is pop this pack out. We think we can get one more flight in for you before we lose light. So we're actually working on getting this one charged up. And we'll see. So we'll pause it and get that one back in. So we're gonna go back to the 50C pack for a final flight. So we're actually gonna do 3 flights for you. We'll come right back.
Okay.
Okay, so we're running this a little bit nose heavy here, okay? So I'm on the front mark and it's already leaning forward a hair, okay? So we'll show you what that looks like. This is the 50C at 94% charge, mostly because we're gonna lose our light otherwise. And you see it's right on this edge of this last strap. And it's kind of pushed up to where it's on the edge of the wood, okay? So I just want to see if that helps to get us what we need. In terms of sensitivity adjustment between that and the Expo and rates, I think it's going to get us where we need to be. So we'll come right back at the runway. Okay, so 50C, 94% this time, 6S 5000. We got our timer set to 8 minutes still. Gorgeous, totally gorgeous. Feels wonderful. I should mention it's pretty calm out right now. Those lights help to make the difference. I definitely feel in control when I'm flying this. It's not scary or anything. All right, I wanna just see when I come back this direction, okay? Okay, out of the throttle. Let's watch it stall. There's your stall. That's pretty tame stall. You can see we're struggling to roll it over there in that uphill attitude. Full landing flaps here. Staying in the power. You do not want to abandon your airplane with power, because you will pay the price on a plane like this. You got to keep her flying with those big barn door style flaps that come down. Okay, here we go. We'll just do a beautiful high-speed pass here. Now we checked the CG. We verified the CG. Everything feels good with the CG. But as you can tell, it's not porpoisey now, which is really nice with that Expo the way I got it set. Probably films good because it's not moving super fast, right?
Yeah, the dark blue is good against since there's no clouds. It just looks good.
Yeah, it really does look good. It just doesn't look like it's going 550 miles an hour.
Well,
Full landing
not.
flaps. We'll try a nice dirty pass here. Out of the flaps. Beautiful. Beautiful sunset here. The pink with that dark navy blue. International orange on the middle of the fuse. I think that's what it is. And let's talk about snappiness of the roll rate here. I want to get some airspeed and see if I can show you. Okay, so if you want to move it, you can move it. It's not bad. Now I do have a little bit of an 25% rudder aileron Expo, or not Expo, mix. Okay, gear coming down. Staying in my power, full landing flaps deployed. Those lights help when you go over the horizon like that. Gorgeous, totally gorgeous. Take off flaps so I can save some energy. Let's put those gear away for a minute. Okay, full landing flaps and gear coming back out. Try this again. They're loud. Right up over the tree line. We're gonna roll to the right so we don't disrespect the neighbor. Down in the bowl, but I don't want to hit the trees. Oh, that thing looks so good. I just can't get over how much Expo I'm having to run, but it's flying pretty good now. If you would have handed me the controller at the beginning, you know, while it was up in the air, I would have been like, what the heck? But now it's flying great. So much more predictable, so much easier. Got it on the mains there, no problem. Oh, by the way, don't transition out of your takeoff flaps and your landing flaps premature. I probably did that there on that turn. Could get you in trouble, could bite you. All right, 2 minutes 22 left. It's just so weird, it flies forever.
Yeah,
8 minutes
shocked.
is a long flight time for a plane this big. Those two lights are stellar.
Yes.
Horizon, or FMS rather, you did an awesome job on that. Into the takeoff flaps. Leave the takeoff flaps out for a minute. Wonder if I can hit a really steep approach here. Keeping the throttle out about 30%, maybe 20. Got to go over the vampire killing zone there. Okay, out of the flaps. Takeoff flaps are on right now, actually. Gear going up. Oh, that gorgeous rim of light. Out of the flaps altogether there. Just flying around so you can see it up against those dark tree clumps. Coming down low. Gorgeous, totally gorgeous. Okay, takeoff flaps coming in, landing flaps coming down, gear coming down, chopping it to 50. Got it at 0, about 10% here. Okay, out of the throttle altogether. I'm gonna roll in the grass to stop it. Okay, very good. So that's a 1 minute timer warning. I think we're good though. I don't want to push the envelope too much because I only had 94% charge in that 50C pack. Thoughts on the packs? 100C was nice, but it didn't provide that much extra power. The 5000 was big, but if you are running a 4000 in this very plane, I think you might get good results because you're going to be a little bit less heavy. I just think you're going to have to cram it all the way up to the nose to get that center of gravity to work out. I found that I wanted it to be quite a bit nose heavy to fly well because it still pivots perfectly good on the axis. At the beginning, I felt almost like it was tail heavy, but it wasn't tail heavy. It just pivoted so easy on that elevator. Timer's clearing. So 8 minutes of flight time conservatively on 5,000 50C, 5,000 100C, totally fine. You could put a bigger pack in there, but it's going to land hard. Also, I noticed that bouncing around on the rough grade out there, it seemed to really work out the main landing gear. So if it's doing that to the mains, then the tail wheel is probably going to be really ticked off at you. So our grass is not smooth though. I guarantee you, if you guys are running a grass strip, you're going to have a lot better grass. So just something to keep an eye on. Let's go take a closer look at the landing gear. We'll come right back.
Okay.
So just in review, the landing gear are still in there solid. Obviously I didn't get perfect. Can you grab that tail wheel and just give it a little wiggle? It feels good.
Yeah.
Okay. The P factor was surprisingly not a factor. I was thinking that it was going to be a huge deal, but instead it just really wasn't. So in closing, this plane is really big and it's really beautiful. It's got some gorgeous retracts, gorgeous prop. It flies really a long time, which is surprising for a big airplane. Definitely not a beginner plane. Don't even try it. You're gonna have problems with it. The Expo settings that I gave you are good to start. You may wanna go a little higher. You may wanna go a little bit less and have a more touchy plane. But honestly, I just don't enjoy like cringing every time I give elevator input. And I feel like if you have that much elevator input, you're gonna end up stalling this thing, even though it's like impossible to stall. So that being said, it gets up on the mains okay, and it runs along the ground just like you'd expect a Corsair to do. And I didn't have any major problems landing it. Definitely takes a little bit of room, but on grass, it's perfect. You can drag them out nicely. In terms of looks, I think I might have mentioned a few times, it's gorgeous. It's one of the most pretty planes we have. But definitely, if you're new to this and you're thinking about buying this, do not. Get the 1.2 meter. You will be 100 times more satisfied. You're going to spend a lot less money. And then when you've had a chance to fly that, it doesn't have safe select. That's just AS3X. But I've only configured this with AS3X as well. And it's a pretty calm night. If you had that plane, I guarantee that'd be a better starting point for you. And you're going to love it. You're going to love it too. Okay. One disappointment on this plane, I thought it was going to be faster. Now, do I typically fly my Warbirds super fast? Not really. But the thing is, I wanted this thing to have that scale appearance of really high speed as well. And that was one of my favorite parts about the 1.2 meter E-Flight. It's got a Marines livery, but it looks a lot like this. I think it's got green stripes on the wings and green stripe on the tail. Gorgeous plane, very good to see. I love that plane. I added my own LEDs, so it helps with the visibility. These LEDs are killer in sunset like this, because every time you drop below a tree line with a dark colored plane like this, they disappear. And your eyes take just a few seconds to respond to be able to see. If you've got those LEDs, especially the front facing white LEDs, make the difference between a crash or a loss of orientation and not crash and loss of orientation.
We're getting more planes delivered as we speak.
Okay, well, with that, thanks for watching. Come back for more. Stick around for the build radio setup and the NX6 setup. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We have a gigantic one to open for you. It's so big I can barely get it on the counter. So I had my reservations about this plane because it's huge. And we already have a problem with huge things in this house. But anything for YouTube. You've already seen the flight, and it was awesome, I hope.
We should probably note that the box didn't arrive at our house this damaged.
Oh, the cats
But
took
we
to
have
it.
3 cats.
Yeah, they did these things. But that is something to keep in mind. If you have cats, you know, we will preview the type of destruction you can expect. So, unless you open it really quick for yourself. All right, here we go. Oh, yes. Version 3 F4U Corsair. Yeah, buddy. Look at that huge thing.
Is it black?
No,
Or it's blue?
it's blue. It's got lights all over it, yes! And flaps, obviously. Because without flaps, where would you be, Corsair? Crashed somewhere. Okay, so this box is kind of huge, and it's actually a little bit heavy. So I may do something a little abnormal today. I'm going to cut both sides just to see if this works well. The unboxing, I mean, it's really why people come to the channel, is to see how I open the unboxes.
Yes.
But for those of you who have never done a YouTube video, we have done thousands of them. And we've had lots of success in making much of little. No, it just makes me nervous. I feel like if I don't do this, I'm gonna end up breaking something. Oh, that is gorgeous. Yeah, so beautiful. This is in a navy livery, which is cool because the last F4U Corsair I had was, and I've had a number of them. I say last like it's gone. I still have it and it's perfectly fine. Was my E-Flight 1.2 meter F4U Corsair, which is one of the very few that have not been updated with Safe Select. So Horizon, if you're listening, which you actually might be, that'd be good because I feel like that plane's ready. People are ready for it.
Where are the cats gonna play now?
I'm sorry, cats. You'll just have to continue destroying the box. This is a big box, guys.
It is a big box.
I'm 6 foot tall and it's heavy. Ooh!
It is.
Which is good. That thing looks so gorgeous. I'm so excited. Okay, so because FMS insists on doing this like reverse upside down printing.
Oh, see,
Look at that, I got it right for once. FMS, we just reviewed the pits, 1400 millimeter. It was awesome, premier airplane, very good. Obviously the 2.5 meter FMS ASW 17, glorious.
Also very good.
Very good.
Yes.
Biplanes are not my primary thing. Sailplanes are one of my primary things. Both good. Love that thing. So this thing is going to be good, and I cannot wait to share it with you. You've already seen the flight. I'm sure it was great. Everything probably went flawlessly, and there was not a horrible crash, I hope. Fingers crossed. I can hear some wing spars banging around in there. Okay, so these are obviously plug and fly. So before I get too far, I'll just bump into this real quick. NX6 is what we're gonna be using. But Brian, that's only 6 channels and you have flaps and retracts. How are you gonna do that? Well, just trust me, this isn't a 6-channel transmitter, even though it says 6-channel right there. It's like Horizon was like, you know, maybe we should do 7 because everybody needs 7. Well, the reason I say everybody needs 7 is because all their new lineup of bind and flies have Safe Select. And so in order to select that, you need that 7th channel. Otherwise, you have to share it with retracts or flaps. Well, now you don't have to do that. That's great. Although, this would have been nice to be an NX7. Would have been less confusing. We're going to use the AR637T. That is a very good telemetry-based receiver. By the way, I have to make an apology to everybody who's watched my videos religiously for many, many moons. This thing can be used to go into your XT60 or your, I think they use XT60s on these, I can't remember. Or no, this probably has an EC5 because it's a 6S. What you do is you wire this in to the backside of that connector, and then when you plug in your battery, that gives you your telemetry data through this, where it says volt, okay? I can't believe I didn't figure that out. I should have known, and some of you guys are laughing to yourself. Yes, you should have known, you're thinking, and that's right, I should have known. So we're gonna use that when we get to it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put the voltmeter or not on there. It would be good to have the flight pack voltage, especially on a plane of this size and magnitude. On that plane, it's really not a big deal. The telemetry is not as critical.
We ended up getting 6-minute flight time, and I put my timer at 4 minutes on the pits. So, you know, really once you have established how long it's gonna fly, you can pretty much bank on that being pretty close, especially with the smart packs. Obviously, we're gonna be using the appropriately sized smart pack. I just don't know what it is yet. Okay, this is the wow, that is crazy, look at that.
Oh my goodness.
That thing is huge.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of big.
Oh my.
When it's that big, it's like, I don't know. Maybe there is a limit, right? Oh, bag of goodies. Ooh, there's extension cords. That makes me nervous.
Giant bolts.
Yeah, those bolts are huge. There's like,
Wow.
what the heck? Are we building a car or an airplane?
Gosh.
This is gonna be fun. All right. So now we will, you wanna rotate that for the people? I'm gonna set this up so it can be behind us. That is such a pretty picture. Look at this.
Giant
On the end.
Oh, sorry.
I normally don't talk about the artwork on boxes, but I gotta say something. All you plane manufacturers out there, you've done a much better job in the last 10 years on the boxes, the artwork on the boxes, because it used to be that you'd go through the hobby shops and you would see the boxes on the airplanes and they were just like super lame. I mean, sometimes, and they were always like faded really bad, and you know, you've done a lot better job. This could have been focused up a little bit, but still, who cares? Oh man, look at those huge servos.
That's what I was telling him.
17 gram Metal Gear servos, MG for Metal Gear. Awesome. This thing is packaged up nicely. The wings are huge. I am really excited. Unboxing the FMS have been, the unboxing part's always kind of a pain on all the planes. It's funny because Horizon packs them so dang tight that sometimes it's hard to get them out of the package. I've noticed that the FMS seems to be kind of the happy medium. Obviously, FMS is essentially a Horizon Hobby product line now. It's a different company, but it's one of their offerings. And they used to be offered by a few other vendors, and now it's a Horizon offering. So some of you guys give me crap like, oh, that F-16 is just like the FMS. Well, whatever, they're different. The E-flite version of the similar is not the same. They put different electronics in them.
You gotta cut your tape.
Oh, I have one more tape?
No,
I missed
you got
one?
2 on that side.
Oh, shoot, I
Those
missed the
2.
middle one. But anyway, getting to the point, I'm not actually ready to split that anyway, but I should cut it now.
Yeah.
What I was saying was the E-flite version of whatever plane you're looking at is usually, Horizon has invested a lot of money on engineering. So if you're looking at an FMS versus an E-flite, you know, you might lend yourself to the E-flite. But if you're a plug-and fly guy, it's not gonna be a big difference. Okay, just looking at this, FMS 1700 Corsair, looks like a nice diagram. Okay, read the entire manual, do not skip pages like I just did. That is crazy, 5mm by 60mm. Those are huge bolts.
No kidding.
Huge. Okay, cool. There's actually assembly on this. You have to put the prop together. There's steel in it. That's cool. Or aluminum. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a pretty straightforward thing. Have you noticed the battery size when we were working through
Yes,
here?
I pointed, but you were flipping too fast.
Okay, cool. It's kind of weird. They show a battery with what appears to be an EC5 connection, and then they show XT60s here. Oh, I hope they're not XT90s. Ugh.
Just the battery,
Holy
5,000
crap.
to 6,000.
Hey, warning, folks. Mine fell and dented my wing a little bit because that bag was not zipped.
Oh.
Yeah, not a big deal. Beautiful. They have prop company labels. That's so cool. Look at this.
Those are...
Oh my goodness. They have protection, for goodness sakes. What are they
You're
afraid of
supposed to
ending with
leave
like
your
more
little-
little propellers if they didn't do?
sheaths on there till you're done.
No, I'm not taking them off. They ever, well, this one's reusable. I would not recommend
It has a
reusing
hole
those.
in it. Don't reuse that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
not
exactly.
advisable.
It's been used and it's holy. Oh my goodness. This is gorgeous. Ball joints on 3 servos in one wing, plus a giant retract
my
with more servos. Oh my goodness. Look at this, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 connections on that. Huge wing spars. Look at the vent detail. Oh, that isn't functional, is it? No, it is not functional. It does have a vent, but it doesn't go anywhere. Look at the LED. Look how huge this LED is. That's awesome. That is so cool. The simulated gun holes, really cool. LEDs on the end. Those flaps are going to be gorgeous. And look, they have 2 17-gram servos for these flap panels, and they are interconnected here. So this one's going to operate these 2, and then this one's going to operate the inboard one. And then 17-gram Metal Gear servo for the aileron as well. And they're all contoured so they fit in a pocket like this. I don't want to move them because it's hard on them. This will be for some drop tanks, it looks like. And then I don't know why there's an accessible panel here, but I like it. Obviously the retracts are just gorgeous. Beautiful decals, no problems there at all. I like the flat paint. This is gonna pop in the sky. It's gonna be gorgeous.
I love the color.
Stars and bars look really good.
The blue plastic matches really well. Like
It's,
on my
yeah,
keyboard,
it's
matches the
indistinguishable.
color
You can
really
barely,
good.
the only thing that, it's more shiny.
Yeah.
The wing spar receivers here, they look nice. Those are actually fiberglass. Okay, beautiful. Oh, fiberglass. That's interesting. You don't see that every day. And there's 2 different lengths, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. These are obviously going to go onto the props. Gorgeous detail. So far, really impressed with this plane. Granted, you know, you get into the 1700 millimeter size, they're fairly expensive planes, but you know, it's like anything else, you pay for what you get. If you want a bigger plane, you're going to pay a little bit more for it. I'm kind of comparing this to the P-51 1.5 meter from E-Flight, but that might be kind of an unfair comparison because I think that one's even quite a bit more expensive still. So looking at this, looks like they just used Hextronics connections for our extension cords. And so that's gonna get us to there must be some sort of a junction board. Did I miss one more tape joint?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did I put the knife? Oh, I left it over there. This thing is super staticky too, so as I walk by, the hairs raise up and then the sun makes them white. No, I'm gonna stop right now before I get in trouble. Ah, dang it.
You got,
One more tape.
but there's stuff that's like, okay, they didn't stick.
That is huge.
Missiles or something.
The FMS planes have been really well packed
Yeah.
so far. We haven't had any issues. Ordnance, they aren't slide on. Kind of uggo on the tails, but that is cool. You don't have to worry about them falling off, but this is kind of uggo.
It is.
Yeah, the tail fins. But they'll be strong. This is all one piece of foam. So you can take off that bottom panel and you can mount the ordnance. I mean, it's really cool that the ordnance exists, but am I gonna fly with ordnance? Historically, I don't really fly with ordnance. Why do I not fly with ordnance?
Extra drag.
That's part of it. But the reason I actually don't fly with ordnance is because when I started flying, we had to transport planes. And then that's one more thing. We used to put them on bean bags.
Yeah.
We would retract the landing gear. Cool. Same thing, obviously, you've already seen it. The foam is sticking to it really bad. Okay, so obviously these wings are gonna go together. That makes 1700 millimeters. It's less insanely huge than I thought it was gonna be. That thing's only 1400 millimeters, but I figured this, well, we haven't got the fuselage out. So we're just gonna lay this here, and we're gonna lay this here. Some foam to protect the foam. That's the mark of a good model. Everything fits together really nicely. Okay, we'll take out the drop tanks. Gorgeous. Really like that detail on the top. Really detailed, I like that. Looks just like a real seam, which is super cool. Really like the drop tanks. The drop tanks may go on this, I'm not sure yet. Foam to protect the foam. Obviously there's 2 of those drop tanks. So now that wouldn't be ordnance per se. I mean, unless, you know, you're trying to make Molotov cocktails out of them. Same type of hinge as we had on the FMS ASW 17. It looks like the kind that you just snap on. It's got a piece of carbon fiber that goes through and you snap it in. And it looks like they mold these together. They probably glue them together at the factory. Or they mold part of it and then they seam that together. There's some plastic in there that makes it really sturdy. So this rudder is really strong, so that's good. I'm not taking that out. I gotta wait until the last step. Very heavy duty horizontal stabilizer, dual servos. I do not know what size, they're both labeled. Mine are lined up, ball joints. I mean, this is just really high quality stuff. Everything bolts together. It looks like I haven't seen anything about any sort of glue at this point. Really pretty. Look at the details on that. That's so gorgeous. See that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then we have the adapters for the prop, which is really cool. Detailed like a desk model. And then of course the spinner has a nut. Look at this, there's even like a nut detail on the end. That's really cool. Molded into there. All right, this is gonna be kind of big. Oh yes, that is gorgeous. That is really pretty, really pretty. Retractable tail wheel with gear door. The antennas are really cool. Look at the instrument cluster. Really cool.
Hold on, I got a glare.
Do you want me to turn it?
That's cool.
That motor is gigantic. Look at this.
Oh my gosh.
That's so pretty, but then I can't read what it is, which is exactly the way I want it. Definitely have a lot of ventilation in there. Looks like they got air scoops to go down to the motor, which is the way you want it. Screws for accessibility, for serviceability there, that's good. Beautiful numbers are well applied. The rivets are really raised up high. There's only a few of these little molding marks here, which blend in. You don't notice it. Look how gorgeous that looks. That's so pretty. And then of course the lip. On a real F4U Corsair, of course, these would come out and they would act as coolers, which is really, really neat. Get a load at this. These are so huge. This is all plastic for the wing joiners that join the fuse. And then of course the tail wheel, look at that. That is so pretty. That is so cool. Looks like we got a spring-loaded mechanism for that. So that's simple. That's the way you want it on a tail wheel. And then when this comes up, it engages the steerable tail wheel. Very, very cool. Excited to see if that works well. Really hope it works well. Oh my goodness, there's a tail hook that comes down too.
Oh, does it actually come down?
Oh, that is so cool. There is a tail hook. Awesome. I'm super excited about that. I did not know that was coming and I'm super excited to see it. Okay, so that all being said, I think there's a little bit more underneath this. No, that's it.
That's it?
Okay, so without further ado, we are gonna pause and come back for the build. All right, YouTube, coming back with the build on the 1700 millimeter F4U Corsair V3. And we just kind of got things cleaned up and we're ready to rock and roll. Real quick, I was just gonna put these decals on because I was all excited about this. I know they're supposed to go about halfway down the blade. And so what I'm doing to keep them lined up is I'm just gonna basically stick them on there like this. And then I'm just gonna line them up by laying them like this, because otherwise I'm going to get excited and assemble it, and then it's going to be 10 times harder to put these things on. And it's not really in the instructions, but it's not rocket science. If you've ever seen a prop from a prop manufacturer that does a pretty label like this, they're almost always halfway down the blade. So hopefully that's correct. And if it's incorrect, it looks correct to me, so that's what matters. So do you want to talk about the order of operations there, camera crew, since you're aware of it?
Yeah, so we're gonna assemble the main wing first with the two spars, and then make sure we get everything connected. Then we're gonna put the wing on the fuse, and there's two plates.
Yep, joiners.
Wing joiners down there. And then then we're kind of back to our standard horizontal, and then stabilizer and rudder.
Short goes in the back.
Okay.
Because if the long went in there, see, there's not as much material there.
Yep.
Because it gets wider. It's like a triangle. Okay, see how that makes sense?
Okay.
We weren't really having a debate about it, but my camera crew asked about that. And for once I knew the answer. I said, well, it's thicker in the front, so it's got to be this way. These fiberglass tubes are pretty easy to get started. They're about like just the regular carbon fiber that I'm used to. Hold the end, would you please?
Yep.
Okay, so we got those joined in together. Now, let's talk real quick about what's going on over here, because you probably hear the cooling fan central going on. These two are done. Why is the cooling fan on? And this one's also done. So it recommends 45C, 5000 to 6000 6S. Now, in our application, my thoughts are, we have the 50C 5000 and we have the 100C 5000. So those are going to be my go-to packs. But I may try with the 7030C. My only issue is that that's half again off what, well, I mean, in our case, it'd be a third short of the C rating they recommend. So if we decide to do that, I'm going to have to be mentally prepared to back off the throttle, because your predominant load electrically, of course, is going to be the motor. So if I do that, I may have to be careful, because the current could overwhelm everything, and then you're kaput. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't have the Avian ESC, so you're not going to get the full telemetry. But again, if you want voltage on the pack, then we can just run right off of this little 1S looking connector right here. And then we can plug it into that port. Okay. So anyway, that's on the AR637T. So we'll get to that shortly. These are going to go on the bottom of this, right?
You got to put your wires in first.
Oh.
And then feed them up through the bottom.
That's true.
First, yes.
So these wires are the same on both ends, you see, except they're not. See that? They're not the same. That's weird. Does it say which direction they're supposed to be?
No, but they go in the slot.
No, I understand, but I just want you to be aware of that. That's kind of weird. You see that? This is white, red, black. And this is black, red, white. Are they both like that? That's black, red, white on this end. And then on this end, it's black, red, white. Okay. It only looks backward because it's a mirror image of itself.
So it's not
Goodness
actually.
gracious.
I was like, wait, that's
like
not.
this isn't making sense. Nope, brain fart. We're good. I'm like, how could they have possibly did that wrong, or was that intentional? Because if it was intentional, they would have had to mark it so we could tell which one's which.
Yep.
Okay, so the two wires are there and ready to feed up into the fuse. So now, in this case, we're using this plain stand. Thanks, Tom, for that. I got to do something real quick. Okay, I wanted to see where the batteries are going to go. I always forget to check. Oh, that's so cool. So it's got a release here. Very well hidden. It does release all the way, which is nice. We had some issues with that on the pits. where it only came out about 3/4 of the way. Nice. That is super, super nice. And it pops up too. So you don't have to worry about having nothing to grab onto. The Pitts canopy doesn't have a lot of support in it because it's just one big piece. And so I was disappointed by that aspect, but I mean, it looks gorgeous. It just makes me nervous I'm gonna break the plastic on it. Or not the plastic, but the seam that glues to the foam. Okay, so this is in here. It's got the heavy duty straps. This does have an XT60, really? Did they really think a 6S 45C pack would have an XT60 on it? That's kind of weird. Not a big deal. We have adapters for that. Although if I have to cut it off, then I'll for sure use that little lead. Because if I have to build an end on this, then that would be the way you could do it. Okay, so we have the throttle lead here. And we have the gear lead, flaps, aileron, rudder. All those things are here and ready to go. And then it looks like those are already coming off of this little joiner board, this little breakout board. So that's super easy. So we're just gonna feed that up through here. But I'm just trying to be mindful of the fact that it looks like we got a sequencer, or is that the LED flight control? That's the gear sequencer, gear door sequencer. There's also a bigger hole back here, guys. And then this. So I'm just wondering if I don't want to have the receiver on the wing because it'll be too hard to reach all the leads. See, I won't be able to get them out the bottom. I'm just kind of thinking ahead about where I need to put the transmitter, or the receiver rather. Be nice to put it here, but that is, I can't tell if that's soldered into the bottom. I think it might be.
It's kind of weird that they put that right there.
Yeah, I'd really like to have that underneath the wood, because the wood, if that was under the wood, that'd be out of the way, because then I could mount the receiver there. Now, that being said, I don't know, maybe the receiver will go on the side in this plane, because we can tell the receiver what position that we're going to be putting it in. And then I'm assuming the plane is going to need to have the battery forward most of the way, since we're using a smaller battery than could be received into here. So, trying to decide if I want, I think I'm gonna leave this off for now so that we can reach up and grab those leads.
Yeah.
Make sure they don't get trapped. Real easy to see into this. We got a hole here big enough for your fingers to get through, and then of course this hole, that's the hole we were planning on sending our stuff through. You know, why are we putting the wing on first? Did they really say to put the wing on first?
Says.
But then you got to deal with the wing being in your way for all the rest of the steps.
So do you want to skip and put the tail,
The tail
stuff on
together?
first?
Is there any advantage to having the wing in your way the whole time you're doing everything else? How about we do the tail first? Sorry,
I don't care.
we're ignoring your rules, FMS. I really don't understand why you would want the wings in the way the whole build. So I'm gonna do this my way, the smart way. We're gonna go ahead and put the tail section together, because that really doesn't make any sense at all to have the wings in the way.
Usually you do the tail section
Yeah,
first, so,
you almost always build the tail section first. Okay, so on the tail section, obviously we need to start with the horizontal stabilizer and elevators. So there are 2 plugs, so don't forget your second plug. Okay, so they're both labeled. So in this case, I'm actually gonna take this and flatten this wire, because it's all jankety and tangled up. And then I'm gonna kind of do the same thing with this one. Okay, great. So then, I don't think it matters which side goes on which. If this was a jet, it'd be cool to kind of split these apart, because then you could do, and they have clip style Y cable or extension cord here, which is really good. Servo extension cords, Y splitter. I don't know which one it is, if it's just an extension cord or if it's a splitter. So those are in there and they won't come undone unless you release these fingers. See? Okay. There's a piece of tape in here that held the wires in place. So I'm gonna just lift that off. And in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of tape these together so that they stay positionally in the same spot. That's all I'm concerned with. And that gives me the ability to, I'm gonna give it a couple of twists, which will kind of tame the wires because they're just kind of a pain to work with right now. Okay, now I can slide that wire bundle back into the hole. Really easy to get it in there, and then slip this down into the plastic housing, making sure I'm not hitting anything funny. I'm not. Piece of foam there. Oh yeah, perfect fit, gorgeous fit. All right, so we need some screws now. Did you already play with my nut sacks? Nut and bolt sacks?
I did, sorry.
You couldn't
Left you
resist.
out.
These are obviously for the big wing. They did not give us any
Yes.
extras of those, I
No.
noticed. Okay. Pretty obvious these are gonna be for the wings. These ones are gonna be for the horizontal stab. 3 screws. Okay, so these are 3 millimeters by 26 millimeters long. And then did you bring over the vase of
I did.
not flowers? There are flowers back there. Hold on, hold on. I gotta move this so you guys can see the proof. Look, there's actual flowers over here.
Actual flowers.
I've heard a time or two. Oh, looks like it's probably 1.5 millimeter. Nope, not that. Not that. Goodness gracious, we got more planes coming probably.
Nope.
2 millimeters.
Yep, that is more planes.
2 millimeters.
2 millimeters.
Our FedEx and UPS guy have probably got to hate us
Yeah.
bad. Because we get so much stuff
many
shipped.
packages.
It's like every day.
Our daughter built a snowman yesterday out of Amazon boxes that's taller than our 2 youngest children, if that tells you anything.
Well, that was just one delivery.
I know, that was what I said. It
I know
was
a lot
just
of people.
yesterday.
A lot of people get a lot of stuff online anymore, but we get a lot of huge stuff online.
Yeah. You get a lot of huge stuff online.
Yeah, I do. These went together really easy. Sometimes the screws, you know, you gotta like fight to line them up. Would you? Or hold on, you. Yes, yes. You realize you're holding the camera.
I know.
Okay.
You realize you're screwing a screw.
That's true. That's true. This one doesn't seem to be biting, which is kind of disconcerting. Let me try this one first. Don't let me forget to do that one.
Okay.
Camera crew. I'm trying to see what our poor guys got in the truck today.
Sometimes it takes a while to find it all. Did that one go?
It did. It doesn't feel like it's biting at all, actually. It's got me nervous that I've maybe made a mistake, but those drawings were pretty clear. And then this is going to obstruct access to it, so I want to wait and do that last, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like there's anything down there, which is a bad sign, because this is a little bit hard to get these things out sometimes. Sometimes you land on the lip. Oh, that is an airplane.
Most definitely.
That is definitely an airplane. And he only brought one, but he's running. So maybe that means there's more than one.
You can't carry multiple of those at a time.
Okay, that didn't bite at all. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. We may have to take this out to figure out if I've done something wrong.
There are
Oh, there's another one. That's another plane.
there are screws in that other bag, but that all looks like prop stuff.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but let's check the length. Maybe the length is wrong.
Okay.
Oh, buddy. Yep, these are longer. I'm glad we decided to check that out because we would have had trouble. Okay, guys, and they're not that much longer. Oh my goodness, he's got 3. He's already come back 3 times. That poor FedEx guy.
At least it's nice out.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I know, but it's also Thanksgiving weekend. I'm thankful for FedEx
Me too.
and UPS.
And our mail lady.
And you guys probably don't know this, but I also work with both companies in my day job. Okay, so
Again? What? What did you do?
I don't know. Evidently, that's everything. I don't know.
He must be done.
Yeah, he's done. I think he's done. I just hope this one purchases all the way.
Because it says they're all supposed to be the same length.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, there's an entire like.
I can't show the people.
You
can
can, well, you can show them as long as they don't see the labels. How about while I do my screwings, you can walk over there.
We'll go peek and just see.
Just be careful what you show them.
I'll be careful.
Because I don't even want them to know what brand it is. That would be cheating.
Oh, well then I can't show them.
Well, you have to be careful.
Can't. There's a glare, so you can't see what it is.
Okay, good. Because like I can see. I can definitely see from here. I told you we had a lot in the queue. And I know you guys didn't doubt me, but in case you did.
And our queue in here is...
We just are getting down to the one.
We just got down to be able to see out the window.
Yeah, well, who needs a window?
The cats will be thrilled.
We have a few more windows in here. Those boxes aren't this big at least.
You couldn't even walk up the steps now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, these are definitely biting and I can see it kind of crimping the foam. So we definitely got it right now. Woo, that was a close one. That would have been an easy mistake to make because there was the right number of screws in that other bag. So these ones must be, these shorter ones, oh, you know what I bet? Those are probably for the prop.
Yep. That's weird that they bagged
They're
those
so
the way
close. See guys, there's one from the other bag that's like that too. Then look at this. That's what we needed for the tail, was these longer ones. All right, so live and learn.
Okay.
Where's our linkages? Do we have there's only one.
Yep.
Okay, so we got that. Let's go ahead and put that on. Okay, I'm making sure this is lined up right this time.
Wait.
Putting these tail sections on is super duper easy, guys. They've got these clips and you basically just push it in and it bites. It snaps around it, okay, and then it pivots. See this? There it is. It's a piece of carbon fiber. Really, really nice setup. It's a little bit scary to do. Oh no. Did I not get it? What did I do wrong? I was just bragging about how good of a setup it was, and now I've got a problem. What happened? It felt like it pushed away, but I don't know how that could even happen. I must have missed the hole. How the heck does that happen?
I hate when that happens.
I know. Me too. Oh, there it goes.
There it goes.
Woo! Oh, that was scary. My tail's life flashed before your eyes. That is gorgeous. Look at that fit.
Very cool.
Really good fit.
Yeah.
Really cool. Okay. So what do the instructions suggest about which hole we put that
I think
in?
it's on page 11. I have to move here.
It's on the outside hole in this picture, but that picture is probably not the picture that's going to tell us what hole to stick it in.
No, there's a chart.
There's a chart.
There.
That's a rudder. Outside hole. So it was correct in the drawing. Okay.
Okay.
So by the way, when we flew the pits, I don't even think we did one click of trim. There was none. That is really incredible. Yeah, so you're gonna put this down like this and then rotate it. That gets you right to where you need to be. Holy crap.
I'm keeping the right length.
There's only one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you just gotta screw it in a bunch, which actually I kind of
yeah.
prefer that.
Because, yeah, those are hooked up.
Ooh, it's coming through the end. It's coming through the end. See that?
Oh.
That's not good. All right, we need to do a little bit of investigation for a second. Let's talk about this, hon.
Okay.
Okay, so, sorry, miscommunication, camera crew. We have 6 linkages already on. We have 2 linkages already on the elevators. So the problem we ran into is as I was trying to shorten this, you see what's happened? Is it stressed the plastic here, okay? So I need you to be aware of that. With the rudder centered, okay, so I'm just gonna, that's kind of hard on your servos, so I'm being as gentle as I can. That's definitely centered.
Okay.
So when I put this in, the outside hole, and lower it down, you see where I am? This should be That should be lined up with the ball joint. If I go any further, I'm gonna start breaking the plastic. So I'm gonna show you how to fix that. It's actually pretty easy, but it's a little bit hard on your equipment if you're doing it the way I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna do it with these, which would be more of like a heavy duty pliers with a bolt cutter sort of setup. I'm just gonna take the very end off of this. You guys see what I'm doing here? I'm just unscrewing it. And I don't need to take off that much. See? We just need to take off just a little teeny bit of that. I'm like really amazed we're having to do this. The fit and finish on these models has been exceptional. See, didn't hardly take off any. Maybe a 1/4 inch if that. And we may need to do a little bit more, so I'm just gonna leave that little piece right there.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just like super surprised that that would be a problem
Yeah.
on this. I mean, because this thing is really well done. So again, not a deal breaker by any means. I've had a lot worse problems on planes before. I had a lot of people on this plane over here asking me in the comments about, do I do this or do I do the ASW28? Are you kidding me, people? The ASW28, while is really fun and a great plane, it's not even in the caliber. It's just like hands down that plane. Granted, it's a lot more money, but you get that and you get the ASW28, which is, what is that, is that 2 meter? Or is 2.4 meter?
2 point something.
All I know is that plane is, I would say it's half the plane this FMS is. In more than one area. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, we still haven't bulged that plastic anymore. Okay, we should be good now. I think we're good now. That looks like it's pretty well centered. When that snaps down, we'll be golden. Oh, I hate doing that. I'm gonna use pliers.
Okay.
So somebody was telling me about some ball joint pliers. Yeah, I just don't know if I'm gonna do that. Okay, on.
Okay.
Because, you know, there's something about having a single-use tool that drives me nuts as a technician that has a lot of tools. Single-use tools make sense when you're a specialist, okay? Which I guess if you build radio-controlled airplanes online, then you might be a specialist. But I'm hardly a specialist any more than you guys watching this. But when you buy tools for work that are specific to a job, that also annoys me. So I don't want to have to do that for the hobby. If I could use a tool for a bunch of different applications, then I don't mind it. But just for one thing, like putting on a ball joint, really? No, I don't want to have to do that. Okay, now we can go ahead and, well, we could do the prop too. Why don't we just do the prop? It's like easier to do everything without that wing on.
Okay.
Why would they put the wing on first? It's so weird.
Just for your frustration.
Well, I don't want to say it's like some big deal, but it's just very strange. Okay, so the prop, it looks like it's a total of backer plate. Now note that there is a front and back to this, I think. Well, maybe there's not. It's kind of hard to tell. I'm gonna sit because it might be easier for you to see. It looks really similar. This is like really light. That's weird. It's definitely aluminum. Okay, well, what's gonna make the determining factor, of course, is gonna be if the threading is the right direction, but it should be the same direction. Yeah, okay. So it looks like this goes down here. Obviously there's a more detailed front and then a less detailed rear. And this drops into it. Huh, that makes it pretty simple. And then of course the holes are lined up as such. So that's the way that's gonna go. That looks like we got the right length too. These ones obviously are gonna be longer, which to be honest,
No, the shorter
I'm not sure.
ones.
Look, the shorter one may not reach. So what the heck is the shorter ones for?
Is the shorter ones just to get the blades on?
Oh yeah, good point. So the longer ones, yep, you're right. There's the 20 millimeters and those are 26 millimeter.
Yep.
Those are 26, yep, okay, got it.
That's what I'm here for.
for the technical expertise and other assets. Oh no, I left the tool over there, camera crew. Is that the right size? 2 millimeter? Yep, it is. Okay, so this holds the blade in. Oh, wait, that goes the other way. The drawing is sort of ambiguous. It goes in the outside. Yep, that makes sense. This drawing makes it look like they're going into the inside hole, but they're actually going into the outside hole. The inside hole would then be reserved for the longer 26 millimeter to pass through both the front face, back face, and through the middle of the blade. It should be pretty easy. Do you remember way back when we first started doing the channel, when we reviewed the Hawker Sea Fury?
That wasn't on the channel even, was it?
Yes, it was.
It was?
I don't know if we built it on the channel.
Why did we do that?
Well, it's funny because when you're a new RC pilot, you get into a plane like, what was that glider I had? That was the ANX, it was an ANX Clouds Fly. And I thought, oh, well, if I can fly this, I can fly anything. And so, I mean, that was like one of my second or third planes. But at the time I think shortly thereafter, or maybe the Hawker came first, I ended up with the P-51. And then I got the Lancaster, which was a horrible plane. It looked like a flying turd. It was not fun to fly. It flew way too fast. It was hard to land. It was very...
You should fly that plane now, though.
I know.
Like,
I'd probably like, what's wrong with this?
I know.
It's like, that's an easy to fly plane.
Because you got those.
Premature.
Right.
Way premature.
But it was like Christmas or something. And so we bought those two at the same time.
Yeah, they were like on sale
Yeah.
or something like that.
And that was...
At Hobby King. And, you know, if you guys have been in the hobby for a few years, you'll learn this eventually. It took me a long time that when you deal with Hobby King, you tend to get burned a little bit. And, you know, some of their stuff is okay, but some of their stuff, particularly the Avios Warbirds, are heavy. And it doesn't seem like a big deal. And they certainly fly, but you have to be a pretty skilled pilot to fly the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
When you get into the high wing loading, you have to know how to fly. And they market it to people that have no clue. And so you end up buying these beautiful planes that just get crashed or they fly really bad.
Whoa.
Jeez, feel how heavy
And
that
they're
is.
cheap,
It's not even
too.
done.
Goodness gracious.
Well, they're not really even that cheap.
Well,
because if it's a plug-in fly, just like
know.
this, you know, you have to consider a receiver. And if you're getting decent electronics, then, and that's the other problem you run into is then everything doesn't work. And when you're new, it's good because you learn how to deal with problems. Okay, so the outside screws, that holds the backer plate, okay? And then this plate is gonna be held on through the center screws. That is a gorgeous assembly, by the way.
what made you think of the Sea Fury?
The reason I thought of the Sea Fury was, why was I thinking about that? I think I was thinking about putting together the 5-bladed prop. Because a few of the people that built them, they had them blow up. And in hindsight, we never had ours blow up. But I know what a lot of guys like doing because I was thinking about putting Loctite on here. And I'm like, just don't put Loctite on here. Why?
Because it's plastic.
Because the solvent will destroy the plastic slowly. And then you'll be like, how come my propeller blew up in 40 pieces? Man, FMS sucks. No, you put Loctite on it and the solvent ate the plastic. So you need to seriously curb your enthusiasm for Loctite on something like this. You'd be better off to go and check them for tightness after a while. If you insist on using something to keep the threads locked together, then you can use a number of different products that are not Loctite. Like for instance, paint. You can put paint on the tip. You can put some CA on there and just thread it in there. You can put the Chinese glue, the foam glue, and it will go in there. It won't eat the plastic, which is kind of crazy because you wouldn't think that, but oh, this is a lot of screwing. Well, no, it's going.
When was the last time you complained about?
Well, I'm just, you know, I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, my hand's gonna be worn out. I should have used a drill for this. Good lordy. There's a lot of threads here.
I think
This is gonna be a really sweet propeller though. And by the way, what size was that, camera crew?
11 by 18, 18 by 11.
Well,
The order matters, but I don't remember.
the
what it
order
was.
matters. I'm pretty sure that's 18 because
I think it's 18.
that's a 1.5 feet here. So it's 1811 probably.
No, 11, 18. Oh, I said it right.
It's an 11, 18?
11,
That's
18.
only, this is only 11 inches? In what world is that 11 inches?
China.
Oh, you know why that is? Because the spinner is not included in that blade.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. Because you could technically put a spinner on there that's even bigger. Go get me the calipers. And we'll use those later too. The world's crappiest ones,
Yeah.
not another pair.
Do we have another pair? We're just using the crappy ones for
That
fun.
was just a hilarious joke.
Don't you have calipers
Oh my
downstairs?
goodness, this is redonkulous. I might break this putting it together. Okay, so if this was truly an 11, 18, 18 for pitch, there's no,
measuring
that's
with a-
6 inches. Look, 6 inches. Okay, so if that's 6 inches there to the center of my finger, okay, that's 6 inches, that's 12, and that's 8. This is an 1811. They misprinted that. They had to have. 'Cause
That's
there's
fine.
no-
I'm just reading.
there's no way that's an 18 pitch. Because an 18 pitch would be like that. Okay, so
I'm not a prop manufacturer.
it does feel like a boomerang too, because
I'm
it's
just here to read
huge.
the book.
You read it.
I did.
I'm not saying it was you that was wrong, by the way. I'm saying that the Chinese screwed up.
That's what I said.
They must have screwed it up. It's not the first time we've had bad information in a manual. It's the first time today.
Yes.
But who really cares? You're going to be buying.
More screws? I thought you were done.
I told you there's a lot of screwing involved. And you know, they're like fine threads, so it takes, 6.5 years to get all the way down there.
Maybe we should pause.
We could pause, but we
Another
settled.
Story to tell.
I don't know about story time today.
I already showed them all the boxes on the porch.
You did? Mm-hmm. How many were
Not
there?
up close.
Did you count?
4.
There's 4?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, that's good.
I don't even,
So there's 4 plus the one that's in
zero
there,
idea.
plus the other one that's in there. That's 6. Plus the 3 that are shipping. That's 7, 8, 9.
Well, and then there's like that one in there that like goes with the other.
Oh,
things.
yes, that's right. So we're up to 10.
That would be
We have 10 in the queue.
And
I'm sorry.
we have stuff that hasn't even, I mean, that's done
Well,
that hasn't.
Oh, that's true. We have stuff that hasn't published yet,
Yeah.
which you guys, yeah, but by
you
the
guys,
time
if
you
they
see
see
this,
this,
it
it will
will
have.
have published.
But if you're counting,
Oh my goodness.
our children will be so happy to see that pile.
I know. Whatever, they like going downstairs. They get to play Nintendo 64, which is the latest and greatest technology.
Eat unlimited snacks.
Yes, that's right. Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. Guys, look at this. So there's a seam on here, and that seam collapses to nothing, okay? So if you stop short of that, you're not done, okay? So when you tighten this, that seam is gonna be gone, okay? Because I got about halfway and I thought, oh, we're good. No, you're not. You have to finish it all the way. And yes, that is a 2mm nut driver. So like when you're done, if your hand isn't worn out, you got better staying power than me. Okay, so that being said, so this goes like that, then this washer, then this nut, then the spinner to cap it off. Now, I don't know if that acts as a jam nut because obviously you're not gonna be able to put a tool on this. There's no flats on it. So I don't know how we're gonna keep that from coming off. But let's just hope it does. There's gonna be some humongo P factor on this. Okay, so as you can see, we got the hex there, and we've got the hex here. Whoa. Get in there, get in there. Hold on, I'm gonna lay this stuff down. There it goes. Keyed right in. I'm just really impressed with all the machining. And then how the heck did they end up sending the wrong length? That's so
I wonder
bizarre.
if it's like literally one size too
Yeah.
big or something and it just got mixed or.
Yeah, but if they know that, then they should have mentioned it in the manual. That's
No,
why
like
you
if
have
it was
me.
an accident.
Oh,
It got mixed
Yeah.
in the batch wrong.
like they grabbed out
Yeah.
of this bin instead of that bin?
Yeah. I don't know.
I suppose that's possible. That's big.
Impressive.
It's huge. The noise you're hearing is this thing moving around.
But it's still.
That is so cool.
Makes me
Oh, that is so gorgeous. I'm so excited to see
That's
that thing.
crazy.
Okay, so here we go. We kind of saved the biggest for not last. Oh, that's easy to tighten. That is one gorgeous prop.
That's
Wow.
so
Why am I
cool.
spinning it the wrong way?
I don't know why were you doing
So
that.
cool.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, guys. So now imagine having done that with the wing on.
Well, that part.
It wouldn't have been that big a deal.
So bad.
So the next step, of course, for us is going to be to go back to step one. Put the wing on. So now we're going to find out why we did the wing in the wrong time. So we have this. We have 4 long big bolts. These ones are very obviously going to be the ones we need. They're going to go in here. Everything's going to be golden. Then they did give us 1 extra long and 1 extra short. And then of course we have the pitot tube, which just screws in. You see that? It's got fine thread that's embedded into the plastic. That's really cool.
Do you want to figure out what size your
Oh, the nut driver?
driver
Oh,
you're
crap.
gonna
I
need.
wonder if we're even going to have it. Oh, yes, Tom, you did me right. 3 millimeters. Awesome. I was actually kind of getting nervous about that. All right. Oh, Jesus, this wing is heavy. It's huge. Huge. I don't know if I can go through the front holes, hon. I have to go through the back.
wouldn't recommend it.
Ow! There we go. All right. If I rotate the plane, can you check and see if they're going through the right spot?
Yeah, but you gotta take the canopy off.
Oh, it's not the canopy.
Well, battery.
Battery hatch. Does it need to go through the front, or are we good?
I can't even see them yet.
Okay, we're gonna have to put it together temporarily and then flip it and
See if we
verify.
can find 'em.
Unfortunately, this does appear to be symmetrical, so I don't think there's a front and a back. Okay, same thing with this one, except I put that in the wrong hole. Gosh, I'm doing a lot of that lately. Come on now.
It does not look right.
It is right. It's tight. Same thing, symmetrical, so
But there is a front and a back.
yeah. I did get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely right.
On this side.
Oh yeah, easy peasy. Went straight in there, no problems at all.
Are you gonna just start them and then?
Yeah,
flip
I'm gonna
them?
get them started and then I should be able to flip it and we can just double check those wires before I get too far into it, you know?
Yeah.
Have to redo 475
Just
screw
everything
turns.
twice.
Well, yeah, exactly. Ooh, look at this servo. Oh, that's awkward. You guys see the servo on this flap?
Yeah.
You see this, how it's like flipped around? That could be a problem. So I'm gonna turn that right like that. There we go. Okay. There we go. See that? You don't want it on the other side of the sweep. It could cause a problem. You're probably thinking to yourself, what would that problem be, Brian?
I kind of was, but
Well, what happens is if there's a feedback trim pot in there, or not trim pot, but a potentiometer, and the feedback potentiometer helps well, it doesn't help, it tells the controller what position it's in, the absolute position, and the pulse width modulation is the variance in the sine wave, okay? So it gets closer or gets further. That's pulse width modulation. So instead of worrying about the sine wave, most people just look at the frequency change, okay? So if the frequency is 60, then it's position X. If the frequency is 30, then it's 0. And if the frequency is 90, then it would be 100%, you know? And then of course you can overdrive and underdrive the servos. Well, anyway, the whole point is at a certain point, the gear mechanism moves based on what the motor's doing, and then it gears down and it gears down and it gears down and it gears down. And then part of that gear setup is gonna go back down and feed a potentiometer that tells where positionally the output of that arm is. If it's in the wrong position, then like if it's overswept, typically there's a physical blockage where it hits, and it can actually break those blockages out. And sometimes it also depends. Like you can see these servos, they're all pointed your way like this. Since these are symmetrical, they're going the same direction all the time. The flaps all go down. These are opposite. So one's pointed in, one's pointed out. Okay, so when you actuate the ailerons, they're gonna work opposite one another, but the flaps are all gonna actuate the same direction as you actuate the flaps. So you can tell what direction they're supposed to be. And so what I noticed was this one was backward like that. And so that could put that in a compromising position to where it might try to drive it in the wrong direction. So anyway, probably a little bit.
I don't understand, but I'm sure somebody else did.
Somebody else did.
Somebody else.
I mean, it's just, I'm overthinking it a little bit, I'm sure, but that's okay. That's what I do best. Okay, we have to check the wires and then tighten those. Yeah, it's way back there, but I should be able to get them. See this? It's back there pretty good. I bet I could grab them with a pair of pliers without too much trouble. A pair of forceps would be best for something like this.
You keep saying that, but then you never bring them upstairs.
Well, it's because I use them downstairs too. I just need to get another set of forceps.
You never know, you might need extra forceps.
That's true. Oops. Ooh, you know what? I wonder if I got that thing pinched. Nope, I didn't. Ooh, that was making me nervous. Because if I got it pinched under the wing, then I got to take it apart to get it out. Okay. So now, I don't know if there's like a left and a right, and if there is, they would have mentioned it, I'm sure. Everything operates the same direction on the flap, so it shouldn't matter. So the ailerons and the flaps are all moving the same direction. Okay, so in order to split out all those servo leads, you'd have to do quite a bit of work. Okay. Okay, so they're plugged in now. That does make for a lot tidier installation though. Just these two nice little wires there. Okay, so here in a few minutes we're gonna have to plug all those wires in and then go to the receiver, which, that sucks. You know what I just realized?
What?
Oh no, we do have the leads. Okay. I was just gonna say, because this breakout board probably allows for a couple of different configurations. In our case, I was just thinking we were gonna have to provide our own plugs to go to it, but I don't think we do have to. So that's good. Okay, we gotta flip that thing is gorgeous, but it's not done. Don't start looking at how gorgeous it is. You're gonna forget. You're gonna forget to tighten your screws if you do that. Oh, this thing is heavy. Goodness gracious. Great balls of fire. Good thing the wing is super thick and it provides tons of lift. I am excited to see the flight envelope. On my 1.2 meter F4U Corsair, it's gotta be one of the slowest flying planes if I wanna make it slow. And I like planes that can go slow. Just because they can go slow doesn't mean you have to go slow. That thing also goes fast.
Yeah, I like that plane, so I'm excited to see this one.
I was surprised the orange looks kind of almost red on the, I would describe that orange as international orange.
On there?
Yeah.
Yeah. On all of them, it looks more, like way more bright orange.
On the documentation? Yeah, it looks like they painted on top of the blue though. And that's probably what's up about that. Nice tight fit. It's pulling the seam down nicely. I was nervous that the seam was gonna remain open and it was gonna look slobby, but it most definitely does not. Oh man, I'm having to really turn hard. I wonder if I almost need to get a drill because this is gonna take forever. As soon as I say that, then it starts going easy. So what are your thoughts on these FMS builds?
I've been really impressed so far.
Yeah, me too. Because, you know, the ones that showed up on the doorstep. I know, it's gonna be a different situation.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because different application, you know, these are gonna be a little bit more high dollar.
Right.
Oh, good lordy lord. I don't know if I wanna do this by hand, but I'm just afraid I get my drill out. Next thing you know, I'm over torquing it.
I know. It's going now. No, I feel like the quality is really good. They've been really easy to build.
Yeah,
The
like,
directions are decent.
I agree. And they're English, they're full English.
Yes.
They're not like Chinglish, maybe sort of understand what they mean,
Yeah, no,
but not really at all, like the Banggood stuff.
Oh, it's pretty easy to.
There's not been a time where we read a sentence and said, "Ha, that's hilarious."
No.
And that's like all we do when we read the, you know, the E-Sheen and the XK and
Yeah.
JJRC, and they're all one big Chinese happy family over there.
No, I've been really impressed with these. And that's what I was saying the other day is you've done a glider, the biplane, and now a warbird. So we've kind of seen several different builds.
And there's more coming, by the way.
I didn't say. That's why
Good.
I left that one off the list.
There's more coming. I'm at liberty to discuss these things. But I'm not going to tell you what it is unless I spill the beans in a comment like an idiot. Okay. That, like, my forearms are burning.
You can stop and take a break.
Yeah. Can we? Pitot tube. Yes. Oh man, I have visions of whacking the trim or the window as we go
Yeah,
through with this
that's-
thing. Good thing we put an 8-foot door in for our entryway. We have gone through and had trouble getting some of our planes out through our 8-foot tall door. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's a good thing we built a house so that you could fly airplanes.
Oh yes, that's right. Oh, that thing is gorgeous. All right, 1,700
Where are you
millimeters.
going?
Well, I'm going to show them next to. Okay, so 1,700 millimeters. You have to keep in mind when you have a plane that's 1,700 millimeters. That is gorgeous, by the way. Oh my goodness. And it's like this. It's a lot different than a 1,700 millimeter sailplane. Okay. The sailplane is big, right?
Yeah.
But this thing is big in
Yeah.
all the dimensions, okay? So just putting the nose on the ground, if I can do it without damaging anything, okay? Look at this. Just to give you an idea of size.
That's crazy.
That's a 2.5 meter plane, and you would
Right.
think it's half the size. It's less than half the size. So this is a lot of plane, guys.
Yeah.
A lot of plane. So, and it is gorgeous, and it is quite heavy. And is that not sweet looking?
It's very cool looking. It's not hang on the wall cool. I knew that was in here next time.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to beg to differ on that one.
You need a lot more than flowers. It's very cool though.
All right, so the next step, of course, now that it's physically assembled, if you were gonna do the ordnance, which I'm just not sure if I'm sold on the drop tanks. For sure, we can't really put these on at this step, but the drop tanks do look pretty sweet. I'm not gonna do the rocket pods, right? Because I don't wanna do the rocket pods. They look nice, but they blend with the aircraft. If they were white and they popped and they had better tail feathers, this is my issue with them. I don't know if I pointed that out earlier, is these look clunky. Everything else looks fine, but I'm not gonna use them anyway, so who cares? The drop tanks are more detailed and they're more likely to stay on there. And actually I have drop tanks from a bunch of different planes. It's kind of weird, all the ordnance you get from these planes. Most of them don't end up on the planes, but I can tell you as a kid, I would have thought that was the coolest thing ever. But as an adult, it's just more stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that being said, our next step is going to be to work on the radio setup, which includes installing the radio. And we already discussed the radio a little bit, so we'll go ahead and jump into the installation part right now. We don't need to stop.
When are you gonna mark the CG?
We can't mark the CG yet because we have to actually put in the radio.
Okay.
So, and when I say the radio, I mean the radio system. This is a transmitter and a receiver, but it is actually just a receiver with telemetry. And if it has telemetry, that means it's transmitting as well as receiving data, okay? So that's why I say the radio system, in case you guys were wondering. The transmitter over here is also transmitting and receiving feedback. So these are full duplex. They both talk to one another and they both take action on that information. So I'm having some problems here.
Yeah. What?
The tape just does not want to let go of this thing.
Oh, are they usually taped?
I don't know. I didn't think they were usually taped, or maybe I just am better about ripping them open. Okay, so what comes in this package, we've kind of discussed this in previous videos, so I'll just show you. Man, I did a really bad job opening that. Okay, so we have the diversity antenna. Of course, these things need to be, you know, perpendicular to each other. You don't want them parallel like this. You want them to be like this or like this, you know, 90 degrees of each other. This is the bind button. You can also use a bind switch if you prefer. And then of course you can lay this either this way or this way, but not this way or this way, okay? You can lay it like this or like this or like this or like this, but not like this or like this. Do you guys understand? The plugs need to go back or they need to go forward. In my case, on this plane, let's take a quick look. So you were saying mark the CG?
No, I just didn't want you to forget to do it whenever you were ready.
Why don't, you're right though. We should probably actually mark the CG. Oh my goodness, that's way out there again.
Well, yeah, we can't test it, obviously.
Well, and that's true. We
Hey,
should mark it.
Your GP, so your calipers are over here.
We're outgrowing our calipers. crappy calipers.
115.
115 to 125, okay. And that's from the leading edge? Yeah.
Yeah.
This flat face here, guys, then it tapers from here back, okay? So 115 to 125, I can do that. So 115.
115.
So 11 and a half
Yes.
centimeters. Don't screw that up, guys. It'd be easy if you're used to doing English standard measurements.
It's like right on that.
Imperial measurements. Oh, it's so close. Come on now. Come on, man. So close. See, there's a void here for that vent. So let me come out here just a wee bit further. We could almost just call it that crack.
That crack.
Okay, and then
125. So
125 would be here. 12 and a half. Okay, so 12 and a half. Okay. So it'll be like here and then here. Okay. Regrettably just behind.
yeah.
So 125, and I marked it right at the bottom. Actually, could have marked it out here, but that's okay. Because this plane, you're gonna have to hang it upside down. So, dang it, that would have been
Are
smart.
you gonna have to do your little
My dimples. It would make it easier. Because you can't see it very much anyway.
yeah.
Okay, that's good enough, yeah.
That's
So we'll
not a
do the
very
same
big
thing here.
range.
Huh?
It's not a very big range on a plane this size.
No, I agree. And you know what's weird? What the heck? How can that be?
What?
I feel like I'm...
I can't see. No, I can't.
Okay, if I'm at 125 millimeters, look where I am. Oh. Feels like I'm not as far back. Doesn't it? Maybe it is, right? Good enough. It was weird because it felt like I wasn't quite as far back. And sometimes you realize you're measuring wrong. For instance, if there's a curve on the wing, you don't measure the flat face you measure from an imaginary line up and an imaginary line in, and that's your center of gravity mark. Okay, I've made that mistake before, and it skews the performance of the plane a lot, so you definitely want to get it right.
But the thing is, we haven't had to adjust CG much with
The
either of the
FMS,
FMS ones that we've done
they've
so
all
far.
been really good. They've been
Yeah.
pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
So we do have another complication on this plane, which is something we didn't have on the others, which I could have probably addressed before we put the wings on, and I didn't think about.
What?
So if we're going to use this for telemetry reasons, so the way this works is this measures your flight pack voltage, and then this gets carried back to wherever the receiver resides, okay? So, untangle. I'm trying to do this nicely so it doesn't get all tangly dangly. Okay. So what you would end up doing is this plugs in to the receiver just like a servo would, okay? So that plugs in there like that, and it says volt. And then that would actually go into your connection where your battery plugs in. So now there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. One, if you're always going to use the same size pack, and the correct way would be to go in parallel. Okay, so this is the 100C pack. So that's going to be like our go-to pack for this, okay? So we already have an adapter that will allow us to plug into an XT60 here. This is an IC3, okay? This is an IC5. Obviously an IC5 is never going to plug into an XT60. So option one would be to put technically the male end of the IC5 inside the plane. And then when soldering that on, you would just solder this to the red wire and this to the black wire, and then you're done, right? So now the other option is, if you get an avian receiver, it will automatically take care of this when you plug things in, okay? So this is our adapter that takes us to the airplane. You can also build another connector. If, like I said, if you know you're always going to use a 6S pack and you're always going to have a balance lead, then you could actually plug it in here too. You could make one of these, okay? And then that will put your voltage into that. So you'd make a female plug for, well, in that case, a male plug, and then you would plug that in each time you plug in your battery pack. That's another way you can do it. I'm sort of torn on this one, because do I want to have an adapter that I plug in addition to the flight pack that can also be forgotten? I don't know. I'm not sure. And then I was also thinking these things are going to be a huge mess. So it might make better sense to just take this and twist those two wires, which, by the way, does work really nice in a drill, because then it goes super nice and fast. And then you end up with like a really tight braid on it that won't let go right away, but then it does tend to kind of tangle up like this. So you have to be careful. Once you get it braided, then you pull tight and it keeps it straight. You can also put some heat to it and that will relax it, but don't overheat it and melt it together, because then you'll short circuit your whole setup. Sorry, I just hit the mic, guys. Okay, so with that all being understood, this type of XT60 H-M, which it's just a new style that they've been using and other manufacturers have been using that use XT60s. I think I might be able to pop that down. We'll see how hard it is to get into the backside of the connector, because maybe it would behoove us to just do it.
Wire it into the connector, to
Yeah.
that side of the connector.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's not like we're gonna wire it in, we're gonna have to solder it in. I still don't know how to release this thing yet. See, there's a way to release it, and I'm just not sure what that way is. It could just be pull hard, and that's probably what it is. Oh, there it goes. See, it popped. Once I pop that side, then I should be able to just force it off. Oh yeah, there it goes. Okay, so when you pull that down, you can see the solder joints. So in this case, then these things would just solder straight on there. So like the red wire could just feed in there like this. So it's a nice, neat install. And the black wire could just feed in here like this. So it's a neat install. And then I can just solder that there, just heat the solder and drip it in. And then you're done, okay? So.
I vote for that.
All right, we'll do that. I'm gonna go get the soldering iron. I'll be right back. I know what you're thinking. Brian, curl your hair on your own time. This is the protective sleeve that goes around the new soldering iron. It's off. I turn it on. Middle button. That is so backwards. There you go. It's getting hot quick. Okay, so we'll just dig it into that. Get a little flux on there. 308. Wow, that does get hot quick.
Don't forget that's Celsius.
Yep, it's already hot. That's awesome. We just got this thing here recently, and it's been working pretty good so far. We haven't done much soldering with it, but that means we're victorious in life because I haven't destroyed too many things. Okay, so I'm just gonna wet the solder a little bit on that side. And then this is just a simple thing here, you know? We don't need to like overdo this, Brian, like you do everything else.
Just keep telling yourself that.
So I'm just gonna touch the side here. God, that looks horrible. Come on now. Come on now. Remember how earlier I said I wanted this to be simple? 30 seconds ago?
Yeah, I was here. What are you doing now?
Just getting the strippers involved.
Jeez.
I'm gonna pull back a little bit of lead and then I can wrap around. It'll be, you know, just a wrap around with the strippers. No big deal. I mean, at least you're here. See? I'm just taking a little bit off. And taking a little bit off. Ooh, that was a horrible job. It's kind of a between step on my strippers there, sorry folks. So the reason I did that is because I'm finding that it's really kind of a little bit challenging to do this the way I'd originally anticipated. So I have to wrap around it and then I'll get the solder on it. I was just thinking to myself, what happens if that wire disconnects? Is your plane gonna crash? Not necessarily, but if you get a warning all of a sudden that your battery is totally dead, that would be kind of disconcerting. And so I figure it's probably better to just go the extra 3 millimeters and just wrap this thing around. Okay, like this. See what I'm doing? Get around. There it is. Okay. So once you get that thing wrapped around, then you can pull it snug. Okay, once that's pulled snug, then when I solder, the solder will wick around it, okay? Excuse me.
You're not excused.
Jeez, what if there was no wings on this? It'd be so much easier. Try not to drip solder on your plane. You know what I mean, Gene?
Mm-hmm. Also not my name.
It's true. Okay, just getting that nice and hot. Letting the impurities flow to the top. Okay, so that's as good as that's gonna need to be. That's totally fine. Careful of that, camera crew. So now that that's done, I can just replicate that on the other side. I'm gonna have to strip a little bit more, we learned from the last one. See, this isn't quite as bad as putting a whole full-blown connector on. but it's still, you know, soldering. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't want to solder. Now, if you did it the other way where you built your little balance lead, you can do that without soldering. But again, on the sailplane, do you really need to know your voltage, you know, actually true? It would be very helpful. You know why? Because the conditions change so much in sailplanes. Like you might run for a few hours, but you don't need 6S. What does that thing fly on? 4S.
4S.
Yeah. You don't need 4S to make the receiver work. So it's a long time before you would run out. And then you can actually do a receiver voltage without adding this sensor. That comes standard, if you will. Well, they both come standard. You just have to install this. Okay, so you see I just wrapped that around there, just kind of at the base of the wire. It's nothing too fancy, folks. And you're like, but Brian, they're not going straight. Don't worry, when we're done, we'll straighten them up where we want them to go. Then we'll pull them tight to go along the length of the wires. Little flux. It's like the lube of the soldering world. Everything's funner with lube, right? Here we go. Are you getting a horrible angle there?
I'm trying. I'm not that tall. I'm zoomed in.
Okay. I'm having trouble getting it to flow from this side here. There we go. I was just hoping to do it long enough that a giant glob of solder would drop down onto the foam wing. Because that's usually, you know you did it right when a giant glob falls down on the solder onto your foam and it just makes a huge giant hole. That's when you really did it right. Okay, so for God's sake, of course, grab the world's largest one. There's one wire in there that just, one straggler that didn't, it's braided cable, so it just kind of broke free. All right, so this is still pretty warm, but I can hold my hands on it, okay, without being burned. So it's below 150 degrees. Typically on something like this, when you get all that rosin on there, that rosin core, you want to wipe that off. So we're going to grab some alcohol and come right back and we'll clean that up. Do we have alcohol up here?
Hold on. Okay.
This is isopropyl alcohol. It's supposed to be used for like medical stuff, but it's a lot cheaper than the isopropyl alcohol you get for electronic stuff. It's
all the same thing.
Different percentages. I don't know. I've never ever had a problem with it. So I just, whatever is easier to grab. Like if I buy that thing at Walmart, what does it cost? Like $1?
Probably less.
And if I buy the electrical stuff, then it's like $12 or $13. And I'm like, is it really that different? It's still isopropyl alcohol. So it's all about the marketing. And then there might be some like ROHS compliant crap that has to be done when pertaining to electronics that doesn't have to be done when it's pertaining to health reasons. So you see how that's getting shiny because all that brown stuff is coming off. That brown stuff is the stuff that's you want to kind of get rid of, because there's a certain level of acidity to that is not good to keep on the solder joint. If you can get rid of it, it's better, okay? And if you don't believe me, just don't do this. It's not a big deal. You can do it easier without that step if you want. Okay, so then now is when we find out that we did something wrong, so this won't snap on. Awesome. That's pretty sweet.
Cool.
I like that. Okay, cool. So that wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was gonna be. By the way, this is a ceramic heating element, and it has been working pretty good for us. And this is one of the main reasons, because that thing's still hot. Is it like 400 degrees Celsius right now? No, but that doesn't touch, which is really nice. So now, you know, if you want to curl your hair, you can get into that. So far, the cable has been relaxing somewhat nicely. That was my biggest issue with the soldering iron. And yes, I do have links to that too. That's a bang good thing. It's been working okay. All right, so we have that thing soldered in there. So now at this point, the biggest thing is, of course, you've got this big, long, obnoxious cable that's going to want to tangle and dangle around every freaking object between here and Timbuktu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to do this without a drill, because maybe you guys don't want to go get a drill, which is kind of where I am right now. And you're like, but that looks like crap, Brian. Well, it's because I'm not done yet. See? Eventually it starts making a nice tight braid, and then you can walk that braid and control it. You just don't want to get it so tight that you start to damage stuff, okay? But what happens is when you're all done, then you can relieve the pressure here, and you can pull it tight. And you see how it relaxes it? Then when you let go, you got a nice, clean, organized looking cable, okay? Clean and organized.
It's like the motto of your life.
All right. Just more so than some people that I live with.
All of them.
Everybody in my family. Yes, that's true. Okay, so now that thing's gonna plug in here. Okay, it is keyed, so you can only get it in there one way. Okay, so that's for X bus if you were using it, and then SRXL2, which I believe is like X bus, but it's just like another option. Then also like GPS would plug into one of those. I don't remember which one. So we might put the GPS in one of our planes, particularly the 1200, the V1200, so we can see how fast we're going. Okay, so throttle is going to be, okay, so now we're going to start plugging things in. So how do we determine where things go? This is something that we've talked about in other videos in the past. Basically, we turn on our transmitter, okay? This is the NX6. It comes on with the pits because that was the last plane we were working on. Scroll over to the monitor. Throttle, then ailerons, then elevator, then rudder, then gear, then aux1, aux2, okay? So the pits was a simple plane, no flaps or anything. So what we're gonna probably have to do is we're gonna pause, clean some stuff up, and we'll come back, set up the initial setup, then we'll go ahead and start plugging stuff together. Okay, folks, so we gotta get started with the radio installation, but what we have to start with in this case is we have to do the basic setup here, and they all kind of happen at the same time, so we'll just start with that. So if you want to come around, we have this set to the palette that's the orange and black. It seems to be the easiest for us to film for exposure regions, but you can do all sorts of different colors in here, which is really cool. And if you're curious how to do that, you just go down to System Setup, disconnect your radio, and then scroll down to Palette Utilities. And then within Palette Utilities, you can change all sorts of colors. It's going to make our exposure go crazy. As you can tell, it's going light, dark, light, dark. So basically orange seems to be the easiest for us. Spectrum dark, that's another option. Which one's the best? Those seem to be about the same.
There's one with red writing that's also good, like black
and white. Black and white even screws up the exposure a little bit.
I think orange is, that one's not bad either on camera.
White's the worst though.
Definitely.
Spectrum high vis. I think the orange just freaks out the camera a lot less. So anyway, the Spectrum standard color code or palette is the worst for us. So we're gonna just put it back to that unless you want me to do a different one.
No, orange is fine.
Okay, so getting back, so we're gonna click, scroll down to System Setup, disconnect RF, that shuts off the little light so you know, go to Model Select, scroll down to the bottom, Add New Model, Create, You can change what you want, or you can create it that way. Okay, click and then create, and it's creating it. That's why it's waiting. Model type, we've already selected it. So if you did that, it would say reset all data. Yes, which is fine because we already have a new model. Model name, this is where you type in the name. So it's number 6. If you wanted to double check, you go to model select. You can say, yep, that's number 6. Then we're going to model name and we're going to type this in. So we'll start with the first letter and then we'll pause and come back when we're done typing. Okay, so we've got everything dialed in. We had one character less than we wanted, so we had to have a space eliminated there. So aircraft type, we have to set the wing type to 1 flap, 1 aileron, because we have 1 channel for ailerons and 1 channel for flaps. Oops. And then the tail type is normal. We're not going to mess with any of that. I think they have an F4U Corsair in here. Oh, there she is. Okay. Okay, so now that we have that set, we can go over one and we can see where everything's set up. But the first thing we're going to do for safety is throttle cut. We're going to turn it on to this switch, switch H. We're going to make sure it's working. It is working because you can see this is at 0. Now it's up at 94, then it's 0, 100, 0, 100. Okay, so on and tested. Flap system. We'll mess with that after it binds because sometimes it's a little weird. That's one of the only glitches we've noticed on this brand new release. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if I don't point this out enough, but that is huge space saving. That can go all the way flat, which is so nice. The flap system has a bit of a glitch. It's going to get worked out where the assignment of that to a particular channel on the channel assign gets screwed up. Because if you unassign it to flaps, then you can't actually go back to it. So I usually set up flaps first as soon as we get things plugged in, because if there's an issue, then we can just create a new model. Because that's the only way you can do it, is you create a new model and then the assignment gets fixed. So anyway, that's going to get fixed. Spectrum is aware of it, so they're working on it. Timer, we're going to set it to the conservative 4 minutes, according to the manual. And we're going to do a 1-out timer. And you have to scroll next, and then you get to this screen. At 1 minute, I want 1 minute will be probably voice, and then 30 seconds, nothing, 20 seconds, inhibited, 10 seconds would be voice. And then expiration would be tone and vibrate, and then every minute would be tone, okay? Okay. Because otherwise, when we're done and we're talking about it, it's gonna like be 1 minute, 2 minutes. It just gets really annoying. Okay, then telemetry, we're gonna set that up after we actually connect, because like it doesn't know what we're using yet, okay? Then audio events, same thing. You can actually set up your telemetry warnings in here, but since it's not configured, you can't really set it up. So you have to come back to that. Okay, so at this point, you can back out. You've got everything set. Go to monitor. Whoops. That one. Okay, so when you go over here, just make sure your throttle cut's good. All your switches are where you want them. In fact, we can set up dual rates in Expo. Actually, we'll do that later because I think we need to do the forward programming first.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's some reason for that. Okay, sticks down. Everything's neutral. Sticks are where we want them for fail-safe. I don't know what direction the gear are going to operate, but typically I have gear up and then gear down, okay? So if you can get used to a configuration that you like and just keep it the same all the time, it's going to serve you well in your RC existence, okay? So the transmitter at this point can be turned off because we're obviously going to have to bind first. So it's turning off. Once it's off, oh, except we kind of need to know what channels we're hooking up to. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's how
my
we turned it
apologies.
on in the first place.
Because we didn't actually physically plug them in yet.
Yep.
Okay, so we can go over to our monitor and we can see what we need to plug to what. So we have the transmitter here. Obviously, you get the spatial kind of size of how big it is. There's these pockets here on either side. You may have better luck.
I don't know where to be.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit awkward because this plane is so dang big. How about that? Does that help?
Yeah, that might help. Yep.
I just can't actually initialize it with it at an angle, okay? So help me keep honest about that.
Okay.
So then you see this, I don't want to be fighting this all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry that way back down, and then I have plenty of length on that. So I'll probably go ahead and zip tie that in position with just a real small zip tie. And I'll actually grab a handful of small zip ties in case we want to tie up other cables. And I got the side cutters.
Okay.
So when we tie that back where it comes out, that means that you're never going to get in a situation where you're moving this around and you accidentally yank it out of your receiver.
Yeah.
So the way I'm going to do it, it's not like you have to do it this way, but I'm actually going to run my throttle line up as well, and it's going to go through the same zip tie. So for cable management, okay, so I'll just do that. I'll get this in a position where it's going to be appropriate so I can pull on it when it gets down to the bottom. You see what's going to happen there? It's just going to kind of keep everything nice and tidy. Just pushing that all the way down to the base. Sorry, my hands are kind of in the way a little bit, but it's unavoidable at this point of the game. Okay, so you see where that is now? So now I can go ahead and tighten the last couple clicks, which you'll just have to take my word for it because you can't see there. I take the side cutters and clip the tail off. And of course it would shoot all the way back into the freaking back of the airplane. Here we go. So far this breakout board is fine, but I'm really annoyed with that sequencer. That is a dumb place to have that. Okay, so on our channels, just looking down to the monitor, obviously we need throttle plugged into channel 1. Okay, so throttle is writing over here now. Just kind of get that appropriately untangled where we want it untangled at. Okay, and then that's gonna basically walk right along with that, because that's gonna go right over to the receiver too. Okay, now up on this side it says minus plus signal. Okay, so throttle's on channel 1, so line it up so that it's lined up with 1 and plug it in. Okay, so that's plugged in good. Then ailerons, it looks like from the breakout board there's just one wire that comes from the ailerons, which makes sense. And in our case, ailerons is channel 2. Just being mindful, I'm being very deliberate about where I put my wires when I put them in. Signal, of course, in this case is orange. And then brown is negative and plus is red. Plus is always in the middle if you didn't already figure that out. Okay, so this is flaps. So flaps in our case is automatically assigned to auxiliary 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so channel 6 for flaps. And that's going to be true to form because we have retracts on this plane. Okay, so 6 is flaps. Okay, then we have elevator, which is going to be on channel 3. And again, just looking at the monitor, I'm not reverse engineering anything here. Okay, so this is rudder. And it looks like rudder plugs into the breakout board, and then from the breakout board, it's kind of weird because like it's going back into the plane, but then there's not 2 rudder wires.
Right here.
Oh, that's rudder?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I can
Why
see
are
it on
there?
the camera.
Yeah, but look at this though. There's 2 rudders plugged in. I don't understand why that would be. There's only 1 rudder. It's like that doesn't even make sense. Now there are 2 elevator servos. Oh, crap. That means they probably screwed something up. Oh, that's because, okay, well, I'm just gonna fix this tangle, and then I'm just gonna leave it for now because I'm just gonna trust that they got it right. What's probably happening here is the way that they labeled it, they just fixed some indiscretion on their original wiring on the plane because there's only one wire coming from the elevator. It should be the other way around. So I don't know which one they screwed up, but we're gonna find out real quick when we go to use the controller, okay? So this is rudder, which is probably gonna be backward with the elevator, okay? Rudder is on channel 4. So I'm guessing our elevator and rudder are gonna be backward from one another. Well, where the heck is elevator? That is so weird, because look, here's elevator, and it's plugged into the breakout board, but then there's no wire that comes out that says elevator. Oh, I already plugged it in, sorry. My apologies, folks, here's gear. Now gear has sequencer for the gear doors, so we don't have to worry about that at all. So gear is on channel 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yep. Okay, so make sure everything is seated fully. And then these wires, until such a time as we know that there's a problem, we're just gonna assume there's not a problem, so we'll just tuck these back. Because we know what assuming does. It prevents having to fix things. Until it's worse, much, much worse. All right, so you're gonna notice one thing I'm noticing right now. We're gonna be probably hamstrung into going this direction, okay? That's why we plug the wires in before we mount this, because that's the way it's gonna wanna relax, okay? So, and I'm thinking we're probably gonna go something like this.
So it's okay on the side, as long as it's facing forward, backward.
Yeah, I believe it's okay on the side. I'd prefer to have it centered, but look, it's got the stupid gear sequencer there.
You can't move that?
Well, hold on. Let me try one thing. It comes out the bottom of that breakout board, so I could potentially slide it under here, maybe, and then pull that down and under. See how but I'm just not sure I'm gonna be able to make that angle. See, as I pull on it, there's nowhere for me to relieve this angle without actually undoing it all. I'm just not sure if that's gonna be appropriate. I could also lift it vertical. I wouldn't really care if that's vertical. I wouldn't hurt my feelings.
And then put the receiver under it, and then it would just be there.
Yeah, this would just be here.
Right.
Do I have enough length?
I think you will.
Yeah, I do. Because yeah, I really would prefer to have that not be the bottom, unless it absolutely has to be.
Yeah.
And then these two wires, at some point, you see what I did when I slid that down? I sort of shot myself in the foot a little bit because that needed to come out the other side. But it's all right, it's fine. I don't know, it might be better to just stick it on the side like this and be done with it. I think that's probably what we're gonna do, camera crew. So you see how there's a pocket that's almost perfect for the receiver, short of the antennas passing through. So the antennas need to pass through, okay? If I do this, then all I have to do is manage these wires here and then get this to mount in there. So I could just mount it down there, which would be fine. And then that allows me to slide this back like that, and that's where that's gonna be. And I think we're gonna be okay there. I think that's where it's gonna go. Then we can manage cables. Then we can start working CG. We gotta mount the antennas too. So I would say antenna 1's gonna go like this. So let's get that. We can mount the antennas now, so it's done. Sometimes in these airplanes, you know, you can sit there and overthink and second guess the placement of some of these things, and you're really just kind of pissing in the wind. It's not that critical. Back in the day with some of the cheaper, less sophisticated stabilizers, you really had to have them on the CG or they did not work. These ones, I don't really think they even make that claim. I think close to center of gravity is nice. And if you notice, it's right on the center of gravity, but it's not center of left, right, okay? So would it be better to have it centered? I don't know, maybe. They don't even say that anymore. Unless I've missed it and they are saying it. Wouldn't be the first time I missed it.
In the manual that you read so thoroughly.
I read it that one time. I did read it when I did the Airbus,
Yeah,
or
we
it's
did
not
that
the Airbus,
episode.
the Boeing 737 MAX 9. Okay, so that one's gonna go that way, and then this one's gonna go vertical. And I'll probably just, I wonder if I need to go around all that wiring crap, or should I just go here and then come back about the same spot? Yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time getting the tape to stick on that spot. See how there's like a gap in the foam? Because this one's going horizontally. This one I'd like to go vertical. If I went all the way around the wires, I would have just the right amount to come around and do that. Gosh, why do I have to do everything the hard way?
Because that's the way you like it.
Yes, you're right.
Of course I am.
You know what? I'm just gonna see if I can, see that would be really easy, just drop it. But that's not the right way. We need diversity. The diversity is important. This is a reasonable sized plane. I don't wanna lose signal on it.
Right.
And you guys are looking at this probably thinking to yourself, is that really the best way to do it? Pretty much. I've done it other ways, just a lot more work. And some of you guys are like, I just stick it in the hole and then use it. Well, that's another way of doing it. And you'll probably still never have problems. But if you have problems and you don't make your antennas at 90 degrees of each other, don't cry to me, because it's so easy to do. And that's true for any 2.4 gigahertz, you know, any of the fake brands or the knockoff brands. They're all the same in that sense. Okay, so that's where that is. I feel like we'll be just totally fine there. So now I just need to get some double-sided tape and we'll come right back and stick it in there. So we've got some double-sided foam tape here, 3M tape in this case. And I just have that cut, and I'm gonna fold it down and on the bottom, because then when I stuff it in there, it'll go tight into the bottom corner there. Okay, see how I rolled it on the edge there? So that'll give us 2 contact points, hopefully hold us nice and tight. Oh, come on, you little turd. You know you want to separate from the backing so badly. There it is. Got it. Okay. All right. So here we go, guys. So then down all the way tight to the, there we go. Okay, so I've got it pressed in there loosely. Now I can press hard, like really hard. Okay, so that's stuck in there now. So you remember that zip tie I put over here earlier? I think we're probably okay with that, but I probably should secure that once again, or maybe twice again. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. And then this wire, I could just tuck that underneath the board here, maybe,
That whole little bundle.
if it'll go. I don't know if it will. I don't think it's going to be that cooperative. That'd be super phenomenal if it was, but yeah, I don't see that happening. It's not going to be cooperative like that. It's going to make me work harder than that. So one zip tie here. I don't show you guys cable management hardly ever because, to be honest with you, usually it's not super critical in planes and it's highly subjective. You know, some people are really picky about the way they want their wires, and then some people are really not picky about where they want their wires. Remember how I was talking about that 7,000 milliamp hour pack? Yeah, I don't think that thing will fit in here.
Really?
It's going to be a tight squeeze if it does.
That's pretty big.
Okay, I'm going to pull this Velcro out just to better see how big this is. It's good Velcro. It's really stuck down there nicely. So it comes with the Velcro, obviously. All right, so what do you say? One more there, because that's going to be always wanting to pop up and be obnoxious.
Or a little bit of tape.
Yeah, we could try to tape it. I don't think the tape's going to work very good though. No. So I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to take this little bundle, and we're going to try to keep them all lined up just like that. And then I'm going to try to squish it together and out of the way like this. Okay, because then when we put the battery in, we won't be damaging the wiring. And then that stuff will stay out of the way like that. What do you think?
Okay.
It should be good. Okay, so I'm gonna kink this, then re-kink this, and then that gives me a nice little corner. And I can kind of lift it up with my finger. Then slide it in behind all the wires. Okay. Then I can take, and it's a tight squeeze in here, guys. I'd be lying if I said anything else. I'm really desirous of the pits install right at this moment, because that was so easy. Oh my goodness. The wires, and imagine what this would be without that breakout board. Oh my goodness. It would suck really bad, because that takes care of a bunch of wires.
Right.
Okay. So that's going to hopefully give us plenty of room here to get our battery stuffed in. And then I think we're probably going to, I don't think I'm going to mess with that anymore. That's secured. So now at this point, before I forget, I'm going to leave this level. And we have to basically bind it now. That's our next step. The position of the battery is going to indicate what's going to help us to adjust for our CG. So really at this point, the batteries I'm looking at are 100C 5000 6S and a 50C 5000 6S, okay? These Cs weigh almost exactly the same in fact, and here's the 7000. You'll notice that it's really close to the same size there, but it's longer, okay? So this is obviously a lot heavier. So if we have any issues at all, we'll end up going, like if we can't get it to CG out, then we'll have to go that way. The other thing too is this is a big enough prop, I don't want to get hurt. So yes, typically you would take the prop off if you were trying to worry about that sort of thing. I am not so much necessarily, but I'm still going to do things in as safe a possible method, okay?
I'm going to go like all the way around.
Oh, that's fine.
I think then I'm not close to the prop, but I can probably see better.
Sure. So, and this is all presuming that something's going to go wrong. I mean, we've never had it in 6 years go wrong. So I have a hold of the plane and I have a hold of the wires. So I have an adapter in here from the IC5 to IC5 to IC3 to XT60, and the IC3 will go into the XT60. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this right here just because then I can get to the bind button, which is going to be pretty hard to reach. Okay, so plugging this in. My transmitter is on. I need to turn it off or go into the bind mode. I'm currently turning it off. So it's off. You got to wait for the RF to shut off. It's off. So now at this point, we can plug this in. Oh man, that's fun. Now I'm going to press and hold that button until it's flashing. Then I can let go. Now I'm going to turn this on whilst holding the bind button. Now I'm going to hold this. And let go. Okay. Okay. So we're free, the prop's clear, everybody's safe, throttle cut's off. Now, blow in the right direction. That's 20% throttle. Okay. Throttle cut's on and tested. So we should be presumably safe. The LEDs are super bright. Have you noticed the front? Oh, that is awesome. Ailerons, elevator, rudder, gear. Whoa, that is so cool. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the tail hook is attached by what appears to be, oh, is that a screw that holds that up?
So is it just it's just decorative, right?
I know, but look how sweet that thing is. Oh, that is so cool. Oh, guys, I'm loving that. I do not have the flaps attached to any controls yet, so I can't change them, but the flaps look gorgeous. Really, really, really love those retracts. That is just gorgeous. Oh, wow. And it's got the oleos.
Those are big retracts. Holy
These are sort of soft, sort of hard. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. Loving the gear door. Loving it. Okay, so it looks like the gear doors stay opened. Closing. Oh, that is gorgeous. Oh, very cool. Okay, awesome. I knew that it was gonna be cool. I didn't know it was gonna be that cool. So now, the next step is we gotta get flap mode set up and we gotta do forward programming. But in order to get forward programming done, I wanna do the flap mode. So let's come over here and look at this.
Okay, but the elevator and the rudder are right,
Elevator's correct.
right?
Rudder is correct.
So whatever this.
Ailerons are backward. Yep, ailerons are backwards. So you have to do that first. So servo setup, travel, reverse, ailerons. Okay, so we're gonna back out. Now when I roll the plane, it's gonna roll that way, it's gonna roll this way, roll that way. Elevator up, elevator down, rudder left, right. Okay, so we're good now.
Okay.
You have to have that right before you do your forward programming. Now let's go set up flaps. Okay, so I want flaps attached to switch B. And they don't tell you what to do, but you can tell that they're in kind of like the half position right now, if you will. Whoops. Okay, so that's going down. So this is going up. So in my case, it looks like we're, okay, so minus 100. Set that to 2 seconds, so it's not so schizophrenic. We'll go to 100 for this. Oh, so gorgeous. You hear the noise? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put it to 90 because I don't want to overdrive them to the point where it damages something. Okay, so there's takeoff. There's landing. Gorgeous action. I think I'm gonna actually go like this. You see how I have minus 20? So there's takeoff, then there's landing, okay? Gorgeous action. Okay, so I'm gonna just set up my elevator correction to exaggerate the motion to way high. Okay, you see how that went down?
Do it again.
And then it's gonna go away, okay? So when I set these up, I'm gonna just show you what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna set it way higher than I would ever set it. Okay, so like 57, 72, whatever, doesn't matter. The point is, I wanna see when I deflect the flaps down on an inboard flap, okay, meaning it's on the inside of the wing, inboard flap, I want the elevator to go down, okay? If it's an outboard flapper on, it's actually backward, but I'm not gonna get into the weeds too much on that. Takeoff flaps are deployed, that goes down more. That's what we want. So I have the correct direction figured out. This is important, you need the direction correct, and since this is a plug and fly, you have to know which direction. So I'm gonna set this to like, we'll just start with maybe 10, and then we'll do like, let's do 20. I bet that's not enough, okay? Because this thing is gonna have a tendency, in fact, what I'll do is I'll probably do 25, okay? Takeoff and landing. My guess is I'll have to put that up more like 35 and this will have to be like 15 or 20, okay? But I don't wanna overdo it. I'd rather underdo it with the beginning, okay? So now that all that's set, elevator, ailerons, rudder, and then we'll do a mix for coordinated turns, possibly at some point, but I'm not sure yet. I don't know if you're supposed to do this yet, but aileron to rudder, let's just turn that on and let's do 20%. So ailerons, so that's gonna coordinate and coordinate. So I normally don't do coordinated mixes anymore on most of my planes, but on a warbird, you just pretty much, you gotta do it. So on a sailplane, there may be times when you're actually giving it opposite input, okay? So roll, and then you can always kick in a little bit more. It's not like you're married to just using the aileron stick. All right, so now the last thing is I wanna set telemetry. Should already be auto-configured. Looks like it already is. Yep, so we have all that stuff. And then the receiver voltage, and then there's volts. So let's see what it says. Cool. Cool. Vario's on. So AS3X is capable of measuring change, but it's not actually set up yet. So the next step is go to forward programming, gyro settings, first time setup. Throttle cut is on, by the way. Make sure the model has been configured, including wing type, reversing, travel, trimmed, etc. before continuing. Let's check the trim on the elevator and rudder. We never did check that. The ailerons are spot on. The flaps actually have just a hair of deflection, which is fine, not a big deal. I'm looking at the inboard portion, making sure it's level and flat on both sides. It is, so I mean, we don't even have to mess with it. That's pretty incredible. I mean, all three of these FMS planes have been just spot on from that perspective. Okay, so ready, next. Any wing type, okay. Okay, put the model level and press continue. Ooh, you know what? Let's go ahead and put the gear out. That is impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, it's heavy. Okay, we're putting it level, as in on the ground. I have this ready for when we need it. The other batteries are out of the way. I have access to grab it if there's an issue. Okay, set the plane model or set the model level and press continue. Continue. Set the model on its nose and press continue. If the orientation on the next screen is wrong, go back and try again. Okay, so I'm gonna click continue when the nose is on the ground. I have to be a little bit careful because of the battery is loose. I'm actually undoing the strap so that I can lay the battery in there. Okay, so it's in there now. And I just have the Velcro just kind of like roughly around it, but not tight by any means. I wouldn't want to fly it like this because it's too loose. But this is going to get us a rough idea of where we need to be. Okay, remember the ground is relative to where it's sitting, okay? So I have to have this where I can press the button. Okay, nose on the ground. I'm sure that's easier with some planes than others. Does that look level?
Yeah.
Click continue. It says orientation 8, continue. You want to come over and show them what we're looking at? So it shows that it's in there like this. And look at that, that's the way it is. See? Pretty cool. Okay, so now back on your feet you go. Oh, that thing is gonna be so gorgeous. Hope those mounts are strong because it's a heavy plane. Okay, so continue. Gain channel select. We only have one to choose from, which is going to be auxiliary 2. Okay. I switch that to B, to D. Oops. Just once. If you, it's rebooting. Okay, click for menu. All right, so now we should have everything set up with the exception of the flight mode assignment.
50.
Elevator, elevator, ailerons, ailerons, rolling, 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 elevator, elevator, yaw, yaw, and tail wheel. Okay, then of course throttle, which I can just quickly test. That's, I knocked the ordnance off the counter and it was only like 20% throttle. I don't know if I actually gave it enough to initiate the AS3X, so I have to do that again. You want to keep that?
Yeah.
Okay, throttle cuts on and tested. That moves a little bit of air. Oh my goodness. That's awesome. Okay, so throttle cuts on and tested, guys. So now we're looking for AS3X response. Yep, when I move, I can see the rudder, and when I look this way, when I move it this way, the rudder goes that way. That's correct. It moves to the right. When I move to the left, it moves to the left. Now the elevator. Up, down. It's very subtle. It's hard to see for you, but I can see it. So you see I'm just holding it in my belly and I'm doing this. Ailerons up, ailerons up. So it's all going the correct direction. All of our controls are the correct direction. So this thing could be flown right now. It could be flown right now. But it's not going to be flown right now because it's like really, really windy. Show them the windsock. Oh, careful.
I
Careful.
don't know where the box is. It's really confused is the problem.
Yeah, and when you get confused wind, you see it'll change like 80 degrees, 90 degrees, 100 degrees.
But then, because then if you look at like the plants out here, they're like all going crazy. And they can't see the weeds, but it's
Okay, up. There you go.
kicks around the house too much.
Yeah, this is what blew off the counter, guys. We had the ordnance on there.
Knock all this stuff out.
So basically, we're gonna wait for a better day. We could probably fly this plane, no issues. Let's see if we can figure out our settings for stabilization.
Oh, and you need to do dual rates and Expo too.
Dual rates and Expo too. Good point. All right, let's look at that. So dual rates and Expo, everybody always asks me, hey, what do you do for dual rates? And I'm like, that's super subjective. But you can copy my setup. It seems to work well. It's served me well, obviously, for a long time. Okay. So what this does is there's 3 settings. Okay, so there's the lowest setting, the most responsive setting. Then there's the start setting, which is neutral. And then there's the most insensitive setting, which is going to drop the rates and add more Expo. Okay, so I'm going to start here. If it's too sensitive, too touchy, I can go more. If it's not touchy enough to get it to the ground, I can go less. And if I need to make an adjustment on any of the 3 axes, I can go back to the middle, land the plane, and then go ahead and adjust it for my next flight. And so what I always do is I always set up all 3 the same way, all 3 axes. Now Expo is generally only applied to the 3 primary flight control axes. So pitch, roll, and yaw, okay? Oops. Okay, so that's same. Now, for those of you that are less experienced at flying, you may find that having lower rates than just dropping down to 90 would be helpful. For instance, when I fly with the Esteban, I always set up an extra high setting of Expo and dual rates because Esteban is crazy enough to let me fly his planes. So I do, and so I always put it to a more, less Expo setting than what he likes to fly in. So when I'm helping him fly, then I can go over there and I can flip the switch for him and, you know, say like, okay, is it too sensitive? Then I can go more. Or is it too dull? Do you need more control? Okay, I can go up. So it's good. And I set all my planes up to operate the same way. If I had the DX18, I could put it in my hand and not even look at it and I would know what I'm doing. So that's important. The only switch exception to that would be D, okay? So, oh, I want to make sure I didn't change that setting. Yeah, we're good. We're on F for all of them. So I'll start my flight, my maiden flight in this mode, and if I need more sensitivity, there. If I need less, there, okay? All right, so now we need to talk about, what was the last thing? Forward programming. We need to...
Stabilizer.
Okay, there's your Vario too, which is working. So if you were to lift this plane up, then it would actually change that so you can see it up and then down, which is pretty cool. And you can reset that with a back button. So like if you get to a certain altitude, you can clear it. See that? So forward programming. I want to show you guys how to make more gain or less gain. Now you don't have to make the gain adjustable. There's not a knob on the top of this one and there's no sliders on the sides like I have on my DX18. The knobs give you another good place for a gain setting or a gain setting or a gain setting, you know, because you don't typically use those control channels for a regular airplane, okay? So you go into the gain setting, the gyro settings, and you go to the AS3X, and this is your primary gain. So there's gain 1, there's gain 2, gain 3, or gain 1, gain 2, and gain 4. Okay, so watch what happens when it's on gain 4. Now, I don't know if it's been applied, but it's crazy. You guys see how much change it is? Look, like you can see that rudder change, right? You see the elevator change? That's 4. Now just listen. That's 2, and that's 1. 4, 2, 1, 1, 2, 4. I'm moving it the same way, okay? So I show you that because there is a big difference. Now, I don't think there's a way to switch between gain sensitivity, but I put it to 1 you know, that's what I start at, okay? But when you're testing your control surfaces, you may need to go to 4 just so you can see it, okay? Whoops. And then you can go priority, and that has to do with the amount of control you have over the stabilizer. So for instance, you move the stick all the way over, you're gonna have 100% control, and it's gonna have 0% control. When you move the stick to 50%, it's gonna have X control, and you're gonna have X control. When it's in the center, it's gonna have 100% control, and you're gonna have 0% control. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's true for all 3 axes. And so this is the priority level, okay? That's on flight mode 1. So you'll notice it doesn't change. Now, the gains, there's your gains. So you can change those gains up and down. And if you change your flight mode, I don't want to flip the gear, so that I need to assign to a button or to a switch. Flight mode setup. So AS3X in mode 1 is active. On mode 2, see, I need to change my channel. See how it's inhibited? Okay, so now it's on D. And you could change that to something else if you wanted. So now look, when I flip it, it changes between mode 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so in mode 1, I want it on. In mode 2, I want it on. And in mode 3, I want it off. So it's on, and inhibited. You only have that one choice. Okay, it's either on or off for each of those modes. So now let's go back, and I want to change my flight mode setup. Oops, excuse me. Is it system setup? Relearn servo settings. So if you make a change, like if you rotate one of your control axis, like your flaps or whatever, are not actually controlled by AS3X, but your elevator, like if you replaced the servo and you had to flip it because you used a reverse servo, you'd go and you'd hit relearn. Orientation, gain channel select, okay? So here you go. So that's gonna be your gain is also on auxiliary 2. So this is where having extra channels comes in handy, okay? Because you could have like auxiliary 3, if you had more than 7 channels, auxiliary 3 would be 8. Auxiliary 2 would be 7. Auxiliary 1 would be considered flaps. Auxiliary 0 is not an auxiliary, it's gear. That's channel 5. Okay, did I say that right? Mm-hmm. All right, good. So anyway, so you can make, and did you see that? If you had enough channels, you could actually have those on different, like aileron, elevator, rudder. So you could actually set your gain for every of your axis, which is really cool. But
Independently.
let me tell you something, guys. When you're flying through the air, do you think you're gonna sit there and be like, I need to. No, that's not the way this works, okay? You fly it, you feel it, you're like, that's good, that's bad, that's ugly, that's horrible. When it's horrible, you land. You get it to the ground by any means possible. That's why I have off, on, and on, okay? So always have an out. Always have an out. Give yourself an out, okay? Just like any other flying technique. You either have a redundant system or you have an out, like a parachute, okay? So getting back. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back into flight mode setup. Oops, sorry, AS3X settings. Okay, so AS3X gains. Okay, so now watch this. See how it says mode 1? Fixed adjustable. Okay. See, I'm just going in it the first time, and then you'll see it changes stuff. So if you make changes, like on a knob, if you were assigned to a knob, you went through a flight, you were like, hey, I really need less or more, you can capture your gyro gain settings, okay? So now watch this. I'm gonna walk out, throttle cuts on, everything's working. So now watch this. So I'm in, you guys aren't gonna hear the difference, but you're getting half the output in the middle setting, okay? So that's true for all 3 axes. That's just the way it is, and that's what you get out of the box, which is really nice, because to be perfectly honest, I used to kind of do a lot of Lemon RX stuff, but they kind of got hard to find. So I've just kind of gone away from that. And then also the Spectrum stuff, as you know, working with these guys, the Spectrum stuff is awesome. It's quite a bit more expensive, and you do everything through the transmitter, which is super nice. So anyway, in the old days, you'd have to go in and change, you'd have to screw a trim pot in or out to adjust the sensitivity of one of the channels. So what you do is you'd go full speed and you'd say, okay, which one oscillates? And then you'd have like a master gain. And then you could reduce the oscillation, but then you might lose the stabilization you needed on another axis, okay? Well, for practical purposes, with more channels, you can control all that stuff live while you're flying if you're that crazy. But this is the bottom of the line card in the computerized transmitters, and I'm doing everything I need to do to make a good flying plane work well. And anything you want to make adjustments on, you can still make adjustments manually. You just can't do it on the fly necessarily separately because you just don't have enough switches and inputs. But I can still go from high to medium to nothing, which is really nice, and that's super, super cool. The other thing too is we do have our voltage level of the flight pack now too, which is something I neglected on this one and this one. And that would be easy enough to add. So if you decide you want to do it, you can obviously follow this procedure on that. That's got an EC5 on it, which would be a little bit harder because those connectors, they have a collar, and you slide and it pops in, and they're extremely hard to pop out. So what you do is you take your wire and you cut the sleeve of the wire, and you take your wire and you stuff it in there, and then you put a piece of tape on it and you're done. I'm serious, you can do it. You guys think I'm crazy, but your silicone lead, you can take an awl or just like a toothpick, and you can poke through the silicone in a place that's safe along the wire. You're not gonna break the copper underneath, it's just a silicone. And you can take that little pre-tinned wire and just stuff it in the hole and put a piece of tape on there, and you'll never know any better. Or you can do it like this and cut off the end, put a better connector on, solder them together, and then run it back like what we did in this installation. It really doesn't matter because you got this little teeny sacrificial wire, and to be honest with you, the one thing I wish it had on it that it doesn't would be a fuse on that wire, because you're going straight off of your output on your battery, which is a little bit scary because that's like 25 volts at hundreds of amps of current potentially, and it's going through that little dinky wire. So that being said, everything is set up. We could go out and fly this thing. The conditions are probably good enough that we could get it done, but we're gonna wait. We hate when we do one of these videos, we go through all the trouble to put together a beautiful plane, and then you guys get a false representation of how it works because we were in a hurry. So we don't want to do that here, especially with such a gorgeous plane. This has got to be one of the prettiest planes I have, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is just amazing looking. Mm-hmm. And just the functional flaps are just gorgeous. Give them a shot of this. This is just almost too much. Those wheels are incredible looking. I mean, compared to the pits, this is twice as detailed. I mean, it's just twice as detailed. It's just gonna fly great, I bet. You know how you put together a plane and you just know it's gonna fly good?
Yeah.
This is one of those planes. It's just gonna fly good. I can tell it's gonna be gorgeous.
Yeah.
And there's planes that you put together and you're like, you know what, that might make it back.
Might fly.
Totally cool. I wonder how to get this tail hook down. I don't know if it's hooked like with a keeper.
I don't know if it's supposed to come down.
I don't know if it is either. It feels like it's like you could pull hard on it and it would just come down. But how sweet would that be if the hook came down all the time?
It would just get broken though.
It probably would, truthfully. But it would be so cool.
One time.
Better than 0 times. Anyway, all right, guys, 4-minute flight timer set. This thing is ready to rock and roll. If you want to buy one, okay, you might be thinking to yourself, Brian, you just entertained me for hours. You could say, how can I ever repay you? I didn't know how to do that forward programming. Here's how you can repay me. Buy this stuff from the links below, okay? You'll help support our channel financially, and you'll help to keep my wife from murdering me. Secondly, buy the plane from the link below, buy the battery from the link below, buy the chargers and different things that we bring in front of you. You don't have to buy everything that we put on this channel. If you don't like it, don't buy it. But the thing is, the stuff that we like, you can tell we really like it. And the stuff that we don't like, but we still review, we'll still share it with you so you know what's going on. And if it's really bad, we don't even bring it in front of you. So that being said, if you're asking, well, but you haven't reviewed this plane or that plane, well, just ask me in the comments and I'll let you know if it's on our docket, or if it's just something we haven't gotten around to, or if it's on the way, or if it's sitting in the room and we just haven't reviewed it yet. I'll get back with you. Leave comments, like the videos, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. That really helps us on the YouTube side. But really, the biggest thing you can do is if you know you're gonna buy this thing, buy it from the links below. You're buying it straight from the Horizon website. It's not like you're going off to some, dark web place and you're gonna get like your identity stolen or something. You're just basically buying it. You can use your coupons, you can use all your RC points, everything. But what that does for us is it helps build clout with the manufacturers as we do these reviews. And it also helps us a little bit financially. So that really helps us to keep this channel going because it's a lot of work and you may not realize that. But if you're a human and you just watch this whole video and you've seen the literal thousands of them that we have on our channel, you'll have a pretty good appreciation for it. Right, camera crew?
Yes, maybe.
Okay, that's right. So without further ado, this thing is awesome. I can't wait to fly it. You've already seen it, but I haven't, and it's killing me. Come back for more.